Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good time. I'm here for yet another Liquored Up Live. I'm going to turn it over to a guest in a second. So he is a YouTuber. He also is a bit of a musician, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. He'll be able to enlighten me a little bit on the wonderful art of music and how that enhances our lives. But I guess we'll start by throwing it over to our guest. He is a member of the Discord as well. He's going to tell you a little bit about his content. You know him, you love him. Justin Smith-Williams. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, buddy.
What's going on? What's going on? So, yeah, I'm Justin. I really just recently started my YouTube journey. So on YouTube, mainly I talk about Nintendo and just discussions around them and the Switch and their games and just what my passions are within Nintendo's sphere. And then yeah, I'm a musician. I play the sax. I've done a few collaborations with my good friend Studio Nintendo, where he did some covers of Xenoblade and Zelda music. I've been fortunate to be part of one of Husky by the Geeks big all 1,000+ musicians play on this Final Fantasy song, which like really cool project. So yeah, that's me, Detroit born, um, musician, video games. Yeah, that's me.
We're gonna have to talk about Detroit and it's a rich musical tradition. That's fantastic. But
Yeah.
for folks who don't know, I'm Maganzu. I host. I'm a digital bartender. Host these every once in a while. Like to have people that I find interesting on. So I guess we'll start it out right. Um, so I guess we'll start by asking, hey, what have you been playing lately, and what the fuck you been drinking, man?
Well, drinking. I just got my water right here, so not too exciting, but water with some BCAAs in it for that recovery from a workout and everything. Um, but what I've been playing is I've actually been doing my first time ever. Finally getting caught up on some of the classics. So my first time ever playing through Final Fantasy VI.
Oh my goodness, Final Fantasy VI, one of my
Yeah.
absolute favorites. Where are you at in it right now?
So I'm about 10 hours in without, I know it's old game, but without spoiling it for anybody that's going to pick it up anytime soon. I'm at the part where you just finished the battle with the general, and then things happen with the old girl, and then she flies off, and now you're trying to find her.
I think what really sticks out to me in terms of Final Fantasy VI that you just don't see, even with other games in the series, is just how masterfully paced that game is. Right?
Yeah,
Think
yeah,
of just think of the opening couple of hours in that game. Think of everything you do in that opening couple of hours. So you're introduced to Terra. You
right.
fight a strategic battle using the Moogles.
Yep.
Introduced a lot. You go
Yeah.
to you flee to castle. You go through the first dungeon, like this little cave. You show up at Castle Figaro. Kefka shows up and sieges Castle Figaro. Castle sinks
Hmm.
into the sand. You go to find Edgar's brother. All of that is like literally within the first 2 hours, and if you're fast, you can do even more than that, man. Like
Yeah,
it's
a
just
lot.
a game of masterful pacing.
Yeah, it's paced really well. A lot goes on. You meet a lot of cool and interesting characters. And what I really love with like the different characters is how they each have like their own like their own play style, their own flavor of specific things that they can do. So it makes it interesting to try to use as many of the different characters as possible, at least so far.
Who's your favorite so far?
Well, I guess not to be too basic, Shadow. Shadow is awesome.
Shadow's
Unfortunately, he left
amazing.
me. Yeah, Shadow left me though, so
He does
I'm
that.
hoping that.
He does that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping that he'll come back soon, so we can get him back. Um, Saban, I really been liking Saban using.
Yeah.
I did the thing. I suplexed the
I was gonna
train.
say, have you? You knew I was gonna ask. Have you suplexed the
Yeah,
train?
had to suplex the train. Um, Terra's cool so far. Just I mean basic magic so far, but I love her fire spell. Uh, I like the uh, what's his name? The dude that Saban meets on his journey. Um, that when you're fighting the train with him, where he can do uh, he has like that Fang move, and he's the real noble guy.
Yes, I am.
Cyan, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Cyan. I like him. Pretty much it hasn't really been a character that I've disliked. Whereas like I don't want to use you, except for I won't say that I don't want to use him, but he's just maybe been a bit of a liability, and that's Locke.
Locke, yeah. Yeah, Locke's
Yeah.
kind of a devil may care attitude type guy. Yeah, he's got some good he does have some good motivations, you'll find. But
Yeah.
what do you make of Kefka so far?
Well, it's funny because it's like when you like see him before you battle him, it's like, man, this dude is a clown. But then you go to battle him, and the first time it was a little bit of a challenge. He might have took me out until like I realized I needed to have Celeste, is it on my team to absorb his magic, so he couldn't just like wipe my people out with one move.
Yeah, Kefka's
But
strong, and again, you of course learn some of the story behind Kefka. I'm sure at this point.
yeah, like
Ke-
he's a brutal dude.
yeah, Kefka was a Magitech Knight. He was the first Magitech Knight,
Yeah.
and that was infused with Magitech, and it drove him insane. The procedure wasn't ready yet, and so it
Okay.
literally drove him mad. And so he's kind of like when you first meet him, yeah, he's kind of a clownish character, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Literally.
you just kind of see him. He starts off as this kind of a clock watcher. There's always that guy at work that's just watching the clock. In fact, that guy's me
Yeah.
sometimes. But
Right.
you know, as time goes on, like this kind of clock watcher, just get the job done as lazy as possible. That all feeds into what also makes him so terrifying, is because he is just a
Mhm.
careless person. And he is
Mhm.
a frivolous and careless person, and he just wants to go home. He just wants to do what he's going to do. And if that means doing some absolutely awful things, not to spoil anything, I'm sure you've already
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah. Saw the part with what he did
you're
to science people.
yes,
Yeah.
you're only going to see those atrocities grow with his power, because he starts to grow in
Mhm.
power as you play through the game.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it does not bode well for what's going to happen to this world, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I'm looking forward to it.
it's good.
The,
It's my favorite.
yeah. The interesting part about playing it now without the nostalgia from the 90s
Mhm.
is that with the pixel style, I really wish that they would do a HD 2D remake of it, because I feel like some of the story beats would maybe hit like a lot harder if it wasn't uh if it didn't look like it did, I guess. you know?
Yeah, I would love. I think HD2D would be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect, because you got to be careful on some of the modern contrivances. So, for example,
Hmm.
if we had modern voice acting, I feel like with Kefka, like look at like a Dissidia or something like that, they would ruin that character.
Hmm.
They would absolutely. So sometimes it's one of
Yeah.
those deals where it's like I feel like Square in that game and in many of their early games was kind of saved from themselves, because they just
Right.
didn't have the technology to do the stuff that would have made what like if you had voice acting in a lot of those old Final Fantasy games, that would be corny. It would come across as corny. Now, voice acting's come a
True.
long way. Perhaps I'm scarred by Titus's yeah, maybe I'm scarred by that
Yeah.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
I I don't know. I just think it's always best to be careful with that stuff. But 2D HD 2D is kind of that
Yeah.
perfect middle ground where it gives it that beautiful
Yeah.
facelift, and at the same
Yeah.
time doesn't alter it too awful bad, right?
Yeah. And to me it makes it look like what we thought it looked like back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, because basically we're that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those old school games, like Eye Patch Wolf talks a little bit about this. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But basically, what iPatch Wolf says is like with those old games, because the graphics hadn't come super far, we would
Hmm.
juxtapose in our head what we think is actually happening. Our imagination
Hmm.
would start to do a lot of the work for us. So, like if you
Yeah.
look at the manuals or the box art for a game called Double Dragon 2 for the NES,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
these muscular, badass dudes like holding on to this girl, and like there's a helicopter with bad guys jumping off, and he's getting ready to fight all of them. And then you boot up double. I mean, you can see that box art, and there's no way you can see that box art not be like, holy shit, I've got to take this game home from the rental store today. So
Yeah.
you get home,
Yeah.
you're excited, you boot up Double Dragon 2, and this happens. The little
Yeah.
8-bit dudes, little 8-bit MIDI dudes. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of where manuals have gone. I feel like that's part of where some of the cool box art is gone. They don't have to do those things anymore. They don't have to tickle our imagination. But I still kind of
Yeah.
feel like something's lost in the transition of not doing that anymore. Do you ever feel that way?
Hmm. That's a interesting thought. Because it's like, I guess, like, yeah, like they pretty much everything is just put out there for you. Like, this is what it looks like. So you
Uh
don't
huh.
really have to imagine. But I guess in some ways, maybe now that you don't have to imagine it and like your imagination does it, now it just makes you free to just be like, okay, let me just get absorbed into this world and let the creators and the artists and the musicians and the
Yeah,
gameplay and the
kind of a
control.
double-edged sword. Less work is both
Yeah,
positive and negative in that regards. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, um, yeah, I'll tell you. What other Final Fantasy games have you played as kind of a linchpin point to get as a
Yeah.
comparison?
So not a whole lot. I really started falling in love with RPGs during the Switch era.
Hmm.
Um, so
It's a great system for
Final
that.
Fantasy, yeah, pretty to me like the best. But so my first Final Fantasy was actually Final Fantasy 7, which I love that one of my favorite games of all time. And then basically I've played a little bit, played a few hours of Final Fantasy 16, and then I I played through a remake, and I'm playing through Rebirth. So not a whole lot of experience with the Final Fantasy so far. Just basically Final Fantasy 7 and now Final Fantasy 6.
Well, you are really starting strong. I feel like as you explore that series, I feel like you're kind of setting yourself up for a little disappointment there. Reason being
Yeah.
is you started with my absolute favorite, like, and Belmont, the Mad Belmont. Have you ever watched any of his stuff? He's a Castlevania YouTuber that also he does all kinds of stuff now,
Yeah.
but he started with
Yeah.
Castlevania. And
Yeah.
Mad Belmont also had the unfortunate um, kind of double-edged sword of starting with Final Fantasy 6, and so he just was like every single other Final Fantasy I've played so far. It's like it's good,
Yeah.
it's not
It's good,
six.
but it's not that one. It's not
Yeah,
that one.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it kind of be like starting the JRPG genre with like Chrono Trigger, right? And then
Which that's another one that's on the list that
oh
like
yeah, you've
I need
got
to
to.
get back to. I'm like, please, Square, give it to us. Put it on the eShop. Put it on PSN. Put it somewhere where we can
I'm
play it like
so you know
today.
me, I'm a physical only guy, but I got to tell
Yeah,
you, I don't give a fuck how Chrono Trigger gets to the Switch. It needs to get to the Switch.
yeah,
Like,
it needs
yes,
to.
give us the physical. You'd be fucking stupid not to put that physically. But
Yeah,
if the only way we get Chrono Trigger, if you were to tell me, Zoo, it's either digital only for Chrono Trigger or it's nothing, I would absolutely take a digital only. There,
yeah.
people need to play that game. There are a lot of people that
Like,
never got to experience it. It's $200 now for a card only.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
people need to be able to experience that game. Like
I've
one
gotten to the
thousand
point
percent.
where I'm willing to play it through Apple TV if we don't get it sometime soon.
Is it on Apple TV?
It is. What's on iTunes or whatever it is,
I was gonna say
the
that's a
iStore.
hell of a win. That's a hell of a win.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
from what I've read, the mobile version is pretty much on par with with the Steam version. So
Nice.
if I play it that way, I feel like it should be a good experience. Hopefully.
Awesome. 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 Yeah,
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger's another one. Like if I'm thinking of like if we're talking JRPGs, Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger about as perfect as that genre gets. They're so
Yeah.
good at what they do. The
Yeah.
everything I say about Final Fantasy VI pacing, you can throw it on crack basically for
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger. It's even better.
Yeah.
It's even better. Like things just that whole game can happen so fast. Like you won't even know you're done. You'll be like, "What? I'm done." Yeah, yeah, you're already done.
Right.
It's that good.
Got
It
to
respects your
play it
time
again.
that much. On top of that,
That's good.
Chrono Trigger does something that even six doesn't manage to do so well, and that is to like, okay, so enemies are on screen, right? So there's no
Right.
random battles in Chrono Trigger. Every battle is
Right.
on screen. You can
Yeah.
avoid some of them, but you can't avoid all of them. And the
Okay.
battles that the game forces you into are just
Hmm.
enough to take you all the way through the game with an almost zero grind experience.
That's good to hear.
Just
I
by
like that.
fighting the fights you're forced into, you will be able to get through the main portion of the game up till the fight with Labos. You'll be able to get
Okay.
through all of that without grind. Now,
Nice.
once the game opens up at the end there and it's time to either fight Lavos or do all the side shit, now if you've
Hmm.
been skipping fights, you might have some trouble because those are meant to be hard, right?
Right.
But in general, like that is something that Chrono Trigger just excels
Okay. That's good to hear. I like that.
at.
And
So
yeah, like the random battles is what kept me away from RPGs for such a long time.
yeah.
I wasn't the biggest fan of that. But I don't mind it so much today. I've matured. So
Well, I find out, for at least for me, and I feel like this is true for a lot of people. If you had told me, if you had told a 12 to 18-year-old me that I
mhm.
was going to like visual novels and slow ass JRPGs, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
I was a shmup guy. I was a beat 'em up guy. I was a platformer
Yeah.
guy.
Give me
That,
that action, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, 100% just yeah, no way in hell. But as I got older and I matured, I started to really appreciate that slower pace.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
off of a
Like
brutal day at work, you don't want to fucking play a Twitch action game half the time.
yeah.
You just want to
Sometimes you just want to
relax.
chill out. Yeah, you just want something a peaceful experience.
100%. You ever try any visual novels yet, or have you not gotten to those yet?
So I just started trying my first visual novel with Nintendo won me over with the marketing for Emio, where I was like, okay,
Emio.
I'm gonna give this one a chance. So I played through. I think I finished chapter 2 of the demo. So I haven't started up chapter 3 yet, but I'm definitely interested in the store in the story. So I picked up the game.
Right.
It'll be one that I get back to and um, check that one out.
Yeah, I didn't even play the demo. I do have the game picked up, but I know nothing about
Yeah,
what's going on. I know nothing about it. So I can't wait
yeah,
because it'll actually be my first Famicom Detective Club game because
yeah,
I never had a DS, and you know me, physical only for the most part, especially on
yeah,
Switch. You're not going to see me
y-
after my heel turn. You will never see me buy a digital game on a Nintendo platform again, ever. And the reason for that is
yeah,
I loaded up on the Wii, man. I loaded up on the Wii. And then they didn't have an account system. There's no way to get it. Yeah, it pissed me off so bad. It really angered
yeah.
me. So,
I can understand that. Like, yeah,
all right. So
you.
heading over to the chat, Brooke says hello, and you're saying, "What's up, Brooke?" She says, "How's everyone? Doing good, better than I deserve, man. Good Friday. We made it through the work week. Looking forward to a good weekend. I've got a nephew's ball game tomorrow. But what's your weekend plans, man? What you gonna be up to?
Um, well, right now, just pretty much kind of chilling. Like next weekend is going to be a little bit busier, so take this weekend,
That's the busy one.
relax, maybe right, maybe work on another video or something, and then maybe plan on go seeing a movie with my wife.
Heck
We
yeah!
might
What movie you gonna go see?
gonna go check out that Transformers one.
Transformers looks
which
good. I'll tell you
yeah,
what, Hollywood went from having like no movies I was interested in to suddenly having a bunch. So you got the
really,
Transformers. I'm a sucker for Transformers.
yeah,
Alien Romulus, I hear is good.
it's really good.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We actually went and saw it in a 4DX theater, and
Oh,
that that was an experience.
oh goodness, gosh, that I wish we
Yeah,
had something like that where I'm at. That's cool as hell.
yeah,
We have an IMAX, we
yeah,
don't have anything that cool. That's really
yeah,
neat. I bet
yeah.
that was neat.
It was definitely an experience. Like when the alien sprays something and you feel something on the back of your neck, you're like, "Whoa, what was that?"
Definitely enhances the experience.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
kind of puts you
definitely.
right in there. And seats move and shit. Like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah. And then
yeah. It was pretty cool.
I'm looking forward to because it's a Francis Ford Coppola film, that Megalopolis, when it comes out. Looks
I saw. Yeah, I saw the poster
crazy.
for that. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait.
I don't know anything about that one.
Yeah, I don't know much about it either. I know it's got Francis Ford Coppola behind it. Got Mr.
Yeah,
Godfather. So on that alone, I'll probably go see it.
yeah,
But all right,
yeah.
well, I'm gonna be right back. Suddenly my teeth are floating. I guess I got an early start on the booze, but I will be right back. It shouldn't take too long,
Okay.
and then we'll be right back, buddy.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, Brooke says recommendation for you, Justin Smith, and I'll take that as well. I ought to try
Yeah.
out the Ace Attorney games. They're awesome. Brooke has been talking up the Ace Attorney games for a long time now. I'm
Okay.
probably going to have to pair one of those with Cyberpunk, because
Oh, really?
I could use a visual novel right about now. I'll tell you, it's getting right
Yeah.
into busy season. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to do that. And then
Yeah.
Justin says I've definitely thought about those as well. Monster says, "Hey y'all, working again, but just saying hi." Monster, you are on the grind, man. I hope you are making bank because you deserve to as much as you work.
Working
So
hard.
I wish I had half of your work ethic, young man. Um, because I just don't anymore. Well, of course I'm on the business side of anything, so I don't work anyway. I don't do actual work.
Yeah.
That's what comes of being a business pig, but it is what it is. But
Yeah. That's
so
nice.
so you say you're Detroit. So tell me a little bit about growing up in a city with as rich a music history as that. That sounds like an amazing place to.
Yeah. Detroit was cool, man. I loved growing up there. Definitely a lot of music history.
Oh my God.
Just even with like my school and my band director that I had back in the day, we would have events and stuff where we would get to go to the Detroit Symphony Opera, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
Right.
So getting that kind of cultural experience, and then obviously you have Motown, and because of that, that was really big. When like if you're in marching band, you're gonna be playing some type of Motown song during marching band. Um, and just the music in schools was really big. There were a good few high schools that were had really good music programs, and so competition was was pretty fierce. We would get to travel around thanks to music. So music was big in Detroit, and definitely fueled that part of my life where the fire burns forever for music.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like I mean, on top of the
Yeah,
Motown, you've also got, and Brooke Barnes says I love Motown music. Me too, Brooke. I also love the
yeah,
blues, and Detroit has a very specific flavor of the blues that you really can't find anywhere else. It's fucking incredible.
yeah,
So yeah, like absolutely, just absolutely amazing blues musicians that
yeah,
come out of Detroit. So, and I'm not kidding. Like, I'm really not kidding, guys. If you can look at, go find things like artists like Jim McCarty, um, absolutely just brilliant. Johnny Yard Dog Jones, um, you know, the Boogie Woogie Red. Like, oh man. Yeah, there's so much good stuff. There's so much fucking good stuff coming out of Detroit. And that's just in the
yeah.
blues. Like yeah, then you go to Motown. Like everybody knows the
Then
greatest hits of Motown and who comes out of that.
yeah,
And like there's
then we
just
even got hip hop.
and they got hip hop. Yeah, even the hip
Yeah,
hop scene in Detroit. By the way, hip hop scene in
yeah,
Detroit is still popping.
yeah,
Like there's still some amazing stuff coming out of there. I think Windmills comes out of Detroit. They're fantastic, kind of a modern hip hop act. I think Bop
yeah.
Alloy comes out of there too, where they combine some of the melodic sensations with the
Okay.
hip hop and rap genre. There's some really cool
Yeah,
shit, man. Um,
yeah,
absolutely. And again, this is coming from a like I love to listen to music. I have a lot of
yeah.
respect for music, but I am an absolute. I cheated myself, man. I never learned to I never learned to read music growing up, and
Really?
yeah, and I
Yeah,
feel like I definitely cheated myself there because I can only imagine, like, you're a musician, so I bet
yeah,
you hear the world in an entirely different way from someone who can't read music. I bet you go out, you hear the cars going, the rhythm of the engines, you hear the bird song, the melody of the bird
yeah,
song. It's all around. Music is all around us, man,
yeah.
and a
It's all
musician
around.
hears that.
Yeah, but I would say like you wouldn't even have to know how to read music though for you to hear music throughout from anything in the world. Like a couple of my really good friends are producers. And they don't read music in that way, but they could hear something like they could hear
And no,
something
and just
stupid
no,
like yeah,
and
like
that's a hit.
they could hear like a rhythm going from the washing machine, and they're like, "Oh, hold on, what's that? I'm gonna sample that. I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna do something crazy and cool with that." So
Well, and I guess you're right. I just wish I could hear it with like with a more trained ear. I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would love to be able
I
to hear
feel that.
that and be able to break it down intellectually about what's happening. But again, not
Mm,
necessarily a
yeah,
necessity because music you feel. You don't necessarily break it
yeah,
down intellectually. It's something you feel. Music, of course, being one of our first languages. It's one of the first things that we sat down, we ate together, and we played music together. So
yeah,
you want to get in touch with your humanity, like break bread with somebody or play some music with somebody, and you're getting about as
yeah,
close to your common humanity as you can get. It's important,
yeah,
I feel like.
yeah. It's something like really, really cool and special with music when you're like playing with a band or just or playing with some people, and you just kind of get on that same wavelength
Uh-huh.
where you're just like communicating just through looking at each other, or you just know that they're about to go here, so I'm going to go there. It's like it's a really like cool experience when you just connect with someone like that in the musical sense.
Well, it's pure collaboration. All the other horse shit at that point goes out the window. You're just in the moment. You're
Yeah,
playing with your bandmates. You're
yeah,
supporting each other. You're playing in harmony. It,
yeah.
I can't imagine there's a better feeling than that, honestly.
It's definitely pretty cool. You definitely get especially like after you do a show or something like that, you definitely feel that kind of endorphin high.
How long you been playing?
Man, I almost kind of stopped counting. I started playing on the recorder in the third grade, and then I
Oh
picked up the
shit,
sax in the fourth grade, and never stopped.
saxophone. Holy
So
shit,
yeah,
that's
so it's been
awesome.
30 plus years or so.
That is awesome, man. Got your sax in the room?
Thank you. No, it is actually in the trunk.
Oh,
I had
had a gig.
yeah, I had
Nice.
I had a lesson. I give lessons as well, so I had a lesson the other day,
Okay.
yesterday, and so it's still in the trunk from that.
Man, so you're also getting to teach other people to play. Gosh, that's something
Yeah,
else. That's awesome.
yeah.
Now what do you play? What do you favor in terms of what you play? What's your style?
What is my style? That was always the hard thing to describe. But if you check my my Twitter bio,
Hmm.
I finally came to what I felt was like the kind of perfect description for me. And so my style would be if Kenny G and Dr. Dre had a musical baby, you'd get Justin Smith-Williams style of music. Because I grew up, I'm a child of I grew up in the 90s, but I grew up in the 80s, but I'm a child of the 90s. So I loved hip hop. So when I came to playing my sax and stuff, I would be listening to hip hop songs and then playing along to that. Um, and so, yeah, I loved mixing those styles together. But then you can also add some R&B in there. You can add some funk in there. You could add some gospel in there. So definitely a musical hodgepodge.
Oh, 100%. So when I think saxophone, of course, you think of greats like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, of course,
Oh,
but
oh yeah.
then of course I've also got to give a little bit of a shout out to a Windy City legend here in Chicago, just 4 hours north of me, Mr. Gene Ammons.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I know him.
but yeah, so many good saxophonists. Who would you say is your favorite saxophonist of all time?
Man, favorite of all time. Um, So I have three favorites.
Okay.
So they each for a different style and reason. So first, there's Maceo Parker, which are you familiar with him?
Yes.
Yeah. So for those who aren't, Maceo Parker, he was James Brown's
Hmm.
saxophone player. Where if you go back and you listen to James Brown, and if you hear him yell Maceo, that's Maceo Parker. Um, so I loved him because he was that funk saxophonist, and so I love that style where it was almost just that rhythmic, syncopated, just really cool sounding, using the sax in a really cool way. And then Kirk Whalum, are you familiar with him?
Not as familiar with him, but I've heard some of his stuff. But
Yeah,
I'm going to become more familiar now.
yeah. The biggest thing that people probably would know him from was the sax solo and "I Will Always Love You."
Oh no shit.
And
Okay.
yeah, that was him.
Oh
And
damn.
so what was the standout for me about him was that he mastered a style of play where he didn't have to show off,
Right.
but you knew how good he was.
Yeah,
And
he kind of blended with the band as well. What you're saying. So yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't show off. He was there. He was there entirely to supplement the band and vice versa. They were a true unit.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And so he was like one of the first ones where like I really could hear and feel that okay, he's using his sax like it's his voice, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then another one is Mike Phillips.
Oh,
I
good
haven't really like heard
choice.
a lot from him lately, but I really loved him because he was one of the first ones that I heard kind of fusing that style that I mentioned earlier with fusing jazz with hip hop. Um,
Well, I
so
mean,
yeah,
just
those are
anybody, anytime you mention somebody who's been with Prince, you're gonna pique my
yeah,
interest because I love
yeah,
Prince. I thought Prince was a genius.
oh yeah,
Like
without a
Prince,
doubt.
like absolutely. Even his new stuff. Like if you ever listen to like the new album, The Artificial Age, love that fucking album.
No,
Breakfast Can Wait,
okay,
fucking great song. But that whole
I
album
have
is just fucking absolute genius. Even the later stuff, really
okay,
good. Where people tend to think about the old stuff anytime you deal with classic artists. But some of
yeah,
those guys were still making absolute gold later on. And yeah,
yeah,
Mike Phelps, big part of that.
yeah, yeah. Whenever you get Prince's seal of approval, that's you're golden.
Yeah,
It's easy.
Prince thinks you're gold. You are literally gold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a great choice. And then yeah, Maceo Parker, man. Gosh, I'm thinking
Hmm.
like you ever heard his solo rendition of Past the Peas?
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good
Now that
stuff. 100% great stuff. Oh,
yeah, he would do stuff, and I was like, okay, I got to try to figure it out to see if I can play some of that.
oh goodness. So I dated a gal who used to play the cello, and she was more of a
Okay.
jazz musician,
Yeah.
but she would play the cello and she was so good at it. It's like she'd play
Nice.
like jazz. She played jazz music like Pork Pie, for example,
Okay.
or Bird. But
Hmm.
which again was showed you her talent too, because that's some
Yeah.
wild ass shit, man. But
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
imagine,
Strings are beautiful. I love
oh
the
my gosh,
sound of
so good.
strings. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get into
Yeah.
Benny Goodman's and well, fuck. This is now the music cast, folks. This is now the music cast. Um,
Right.
but yeah. Aside from that, yeah, Detroit is probably one of like the only city I can even think of off the top of my head would be New Orleans. That would have like a similar footprint in terms of music. So I
Yeah.
guess I'll pitch you against that city, like being. I'm sure you have bias being from Detroit, but what do you think?
I mean, you
New
know,
Orleans or
mm,
Detroit? Which do you think has the bigger musical footprint? Now
hmm.
there's Nashville too.
I mean,
There's Nashville too.
yeah, Nashville is a big one.
Uh-huh.
What I like about Nashville is that like from what I've experienced there, the it's just the city embraces it, even like to the government level, and
Yeah, they
you don't see
actually
that.
say, "Hey, it's a government that says music's important." Wow.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
very cool. Very cool. I
yeah,
wish they would replicate that in other cities.
yeah. But
Um
if I had to go with the imprint, I gotta ride with home.
got to ride home. I'll tell you another one that
Yeah.
people don't think about because especially in like the metal scene, San
Hmm.
Francisco actually.
Yeah.
San Francisco has a monster music scene. When you think of someone like the glam metal, the thrash, and stuff coming out of there. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, game was fucking Metallica, man. He can't sneeze at it.
Yeah. No, not
Like,
at all.
so, like, yeah, I 100%. So, I love the fact that you're a musician. And do you have any works or albums, anything like that you want people to check out? Because I kind of want to ask too, see what you got going on.
Yeah, yeah. I have a few albums out there.
Fucking yes. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, they're
All right,
they're
what do we got?
yeah. So I mean, they're all the places where people listen to music,
Okay.
YouTube or iTunes or Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, all those places. Just under my name, Justin Smith-Williams.
Glad I asked because
Um,
I'm lazy. I typically only look at like the last couple months or so of output, and so that'll let me. I'll
yeah,
definitely be digging when we get out of here. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that's good stuff.
yeah.
Always looking for new music to kind of fuel life, man. And what I
Yeah, I
love about
appreciate
that
that.
too is I feel like music is maybe the honest, and I'm not kidding, guys. Like this may be a hot take. I don't really think it is. I think music is the most important aspect of video games as well.
Mm,
Any video
most
game, even
important.
if you go back to the NES era, any video game that immediately comes to mind has a fucking iconic soundtrack. Like even
Yeah.
games like Wii Sports, the music that immediately comes to mind, flows in you. Music can immediately transport you back to a time and place in your life. And I feel like that synergizes so well with the nostalgia of video games. But what do you think about that, man? Do you agree,
Mm.
disagree? Think that's a hot take, cold take? Everybody should have
I
that take. What you think?
I would say it's maybe a medium take.
Medium take.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause like yeah, music is definitely really important. Like, one of the people we both follow, OJ, Player Essence,
Love OJ. That's a
when
great
talking
guy.
about yeah, when talking about RPGs, music is definitely important in the game that you're going to be spending 50, 60, 100 plus hours
That's
in.
such a
Like,
great point.
yeah, if you're gonna be spending that long of a time in the game, you gotta have something worthwhile to listen to.
That music better be
Otherwise,
good.
yeah.
If you're listening, I'm not sure
Um,
if you were there the day I made. Oh gosh, I punished OJ one time. I threw in a super chat just to make him play the NES Terminator soundtrack.
I think I was watching that
Oh, you were
stream.
there? Yeah. Did you see that poor bastard? Did you see? Did
I,
you see him? He was literally like cringing, like it
yeah,
was terrible, man. It was fucking awful. He's like, he told me,
yeah,
he goes, don't do that again to me, man.
yeah.
I said, I won't. I
I,
said, we were talking about
I,
great music. I had to troll you for a second. I thought I had to troll
yeah.
you.
I
He's like,
remember
I'm gonna let
listening.
it go, but we really shouldn't. Like,
Right.
I'll let it play out, but we ought to boo this off the stage, man. And that's what I mean. Like, if a video game music is bad, it can be so disastrous.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much.
Terminator soundtrack is one that really, really stands out to me as being just absolute fucking dookie. Like, if ears could puke, they would, as the angry video game nerd famously put it.
Right.
The game was so fucking bad. So, what was so where did you get your gaming start? Kind of everybody knows my story, so I'm not going to retell it for the thousandth time, but I'll let you kind of tell your what is your gaming origin story, if you will. I always love those.
Yeah. So yeah, my origin story. So as a kid, I had asthma, right? So
Hmm.
I had a probably in the second grade, I think it was. I had a really bad asthma attack, and so I was hospitalized for a little bit.
Shit.
And I think they still do it today, but definitely back then, Nintendo would donate, their systems to the children's hospital. So I was at the hospital for an asthma attack, and they had the NES there and Mario Brothers, the first original one. So
Ah.
I played that, and as soon as I played that, I was like, "Ooh, mom, I need this for Christmas."
Yeah.
And
Uh,
so that year for Christmas, I got an NES, and it's been on ever since then.
ever since. Yeah, NES was also my first system, and Mario Brothers
Nice.
was my first game. Well, yeah, it's either Mario Brothers or baseball, but I think it's Mario
Okay.
Brothers. It's the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge, to be specific. Was my first cartridge. Now
Yeah, I had that
it's
one too.
yep. It's hard to say because again, it came in a box of games that my dad got. So it had Zelda 2, it had Defender 2, it had Excite Bike, baseball, um, Contra, some good shit in that box.
Yeah.
But I think the one that we most gravitated to was Mario, and I'll tell you,
Hmm.
it's one of the modes I miss the most. I know everybody loves the multiplayer where everybody's on the fucking screen at once, and I get that. Like, yeah, it's cool. I really wish we could go back to the pass the controller style multiplayer gameplay. I loved doing
Yeah.
that as a kid, like watching my dad's movements and emulating them when it was my turn. It's literally how I learned to play video games. And I just feel like there's
Hmm.
something lost that they don't do that anymore, man.
Yeah. That's an interesting point there. Like you getting to watch someone, you kind of get to, especially back then, you kind of got to learn the language of how to play a video game that way. So that's pretty cool. I guess in a way, it's not really past the controller, but I guess it's just moved on to like watching people, whether it's like a YouTube
Let's
tutorial
plays.
or a Twitch, yeah, Let's Play or something like that. So I guess in some ways that's kind of what it's evolved to, where if you have something like you're struggling with and you're like, all right, how did this person do it? And then you're like, okay, they did that, let me try that. So it's just like, yeah, it's changed in that way. Nothing ever can really replace that, that human factor of being right there next to a person. But I guess that's just the evolved way of it these days.
Well, I feel like, and again, I think there's a big human element to that. I think you're right. The way that the reaction slash let's play movement has evolved,
Hmm.
it really shows me like a population just reaching out for companionship and for that human element of camaraderie.
Yeah.
You really saw it start to explode after the pandemic, but I don't think
Oh
it's
yeah.
just the pandemic. I feel like more and more we spend more time at work, we spend less time away from our friends, less time away from our
Hmm.
family. Life is so much busier now than it was even 50 years ago, let alone 200, 400 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
life is. I'm not saying life was better then, because I don't necessarily
Yeah.
know that that's true. Um,
Yeah.
but life
Just a
was
little bit
certainly,
slower.
yeah. I when you're ducking and dodging saber-tooth tigers, that might not be, yeah, it might not be
Maybe
the
not too
same
close.
standard of living. Like you might not
Yeah.
be working as much in terms of, and the hours show that if you go way back, like there was less work done by the hunter gatherers in terms of per capita. They worked less
Hmm.
hard than we did. But again, is it worth trading that for like, oh, it's a bear attack that killed 15
Yeah.
fucking people?
Yeah. I'll keep a 8-10 hour workday and not have to
Sure,
deal with this
sure.
thing.
And not
Yeah.
have to worry about the bears and the big cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it
But
is
yeah.
interesting how, despite our, we still crave that companionship and that
Yeah.
feeling of that dual experience. Like, hey, you know, I remember when I first listened to Holy Wars: The Punishment Due by Megadeth.
Hmm.
Here's some young people that are listening to Megadeth, Holy Wars: The Punishment Due for the first time. Let's take a look, see what the looks on their faces look like as they listen to that.
Yeah.
It's a big deal on YouTube. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Like one, yes, one is cool to see like how someone from a different generation,
Yes.
how they feel about what you loved.
You know what else is cool too is they all love what we loved. I'll tell you. You go back and if they play Super Mario Brothers 3, I've never seen anybody not like Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time I
that
see
one's
a Let's
classic.
Play of Super Mario Brothers 3, it's like, wow, this is like one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah. But then usually they do, but then there are some people, they go back and they maybe play a game like Ocarina of Time, and then they just go and they start disrespecting it. They're like, oh man, this game didn't age well. So then you have to hear someone
I
not
mean,
vibe with something that you loved, back in the day.
it'd be interesting for someone to say that because Ocarina of Time literally, like, it's not my favorite Zelda game, and I've never claimed it is, but you can't say
Yeah.
that it didn't set the standard for like all third person action games for all time. The Z
Oh
targeting,
yeah.
the fucking Z targeting, like,
Yeah.
man, I'll tell you what, like the 64, I give the 64 a lot of shit. You've seen me. I give the 64 a lot of bullshit. But I will tell
Yeah.
you that the Nintendo 64, I'll give flowers where flowers are due, man. The Nintendo
Yeah.
64 gave us a lot of modern gaming. It really did. It
Yeah.
set up a lot of the modern contrivances. 3D platformers with Mario 64. Z targeting basically gave us the entire third person action genre. Without that, without building on that, we wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
There's just so much to the first person shooters for consoles were cracked on the N64. Um, there's a
Yeah.
lot of innovations. And by the way, those are still some of my favorite shoot 'em up games of all time. Or it's like the Golden Eye or a Perfect Dark. I fucking loved
Oh yeah.
those games. Like,
Oh yeah. I just uh I just did a playthrough recently of Perfect Dark after they dropped it on NSO.
did you do it?
And
Did you do it live? Is that on the channel or is that something you did solo?
I did it solo.
Okay, yeah, that's I
But
love. What did you think of Perfect Dark?
yeah. Oh well, back in the day, it was one of my favorite games of all time. So I was interested to see if I still really loved it. Playing it through
Yeah,
with today's eyes.
kind of hold up.
But yeah, I felt like to me it held up pretty good. One of my favorite things about NSO is that how they made the controllers available. So I
Hmm.
played it with the N64 controller, and to me it was just I look at it with today's, but still able to appreciate what it was from back then, and just seeing everything that it did back then. It was a great experience. I loved it. I was cheesing and smiling the entire time, and then it also then made me a little sad just to see the lost relationship between Rare and Nintendo. That
Oh
partnership should
yeah,
have should
yeah.
have never ended.
Yeah, I hate the
um,
way that went because yeah, I would have been interested to see what could come of that
yeah,
had they stuck it out. I think we would have got Dinosaur Planet for one, especially after talking
Yeah.
to other folks that have kind of filled me in on that whole history. I think we would have actually
Yeah.
got Dinosaur Planet. Turns out the only reason they Star Foxed that um, is to basically protect it from going to Microsoft because all that IP was going to basically transfer over. So they stuck
Oh,
Star
so
Fox
they
on it to protect the work that was already done.
so they already knew that Microsoft was sniffing around, huh?
Oh yeah, they already knew.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's
Huh.
kind of one of those things where I get it. Like,
Yeah.
didn't help me with my GameCube opinions, but I get exactly. Yeah, Monster says Miyamoto made that weird call. We're gonna get to chat. We're gonna get to you guys' chats here in a moment. But yeah, Miyamoto. The thing about Miyamoto is, and I've gone back and forth with Miyamoto. I've been very angry at Miyamoto in terms of some of the directions
Really?
Nintendo has taken, but you got to give the guy his props. You got to give the guy his flowers. The
Oh
industry would
yeah.
not be the same without Shigeru Miyamoto. It just wouldn't. He produced some of my favorite games of all time:
Yeah.
Mario Brothers, Mario 3, Zelda, Zelda 2. Um,
Yeah.
fucking, there's so Link to the Past. Like, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Miyamoto.
I love
He's
the
a good.
fact that he brought an industrial engineer's perspective. Now, keep in mind that's
Hmm.
not as unusual back then as it is today. Now, today people literally go to school for game development. Back then,
Yeah.
there were no game developers as a career. Video games were there, and you could do game development as a career. But in terms of that being an actual job title, like no, it was a hodgepodge of people. Richard Garriott was a fucking um, Richard Garriott was an astronaut. Shigeru Miyamoto was an industrial engineer, like hence Donkey Kong. I was Donkey Kong and the girders, right? And
Mhm.
why you always have all of Miyamoto's characters seem to feature blue collar workers in like the heroic positions, a vast majority of them, and that
Mm.
reflects kind of that blue collar working class engineering background that he had.
Yeah.
Because you write the things you know. And so, yeah, Miyamoto, absolutely. One thing I will say Miyamoto had is he had a connection to working class gamers. And I feel like with a
Yeah.
lot of modern game development, that kind of gets lost and they just don't have that anymore, which explains a
Hmm.
lot of some of the strange stuff that you see nowadays that kind of baffles some gamers. Like, there's many games coming out that are bombing. I think a lot of your working class gamers are looking at that being like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's got a live service model and it's nickel and diamond me to death. And no,
Yeah.
no thanks. No, I'm good. Um,
Yeah.
where Nintendo just
Yeah.
doesn't do that. I think a lot of that is due to Miyamoto's influence.
Yeah. Like yeah, everybody likes to clown on them for maybe how slow they are to adopt certain modern ways, but in a way that has probably worked to our benefit that they've been slow to adopt some of these modern things.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because a lot of the modern stuff sucks. To be quite frankly, it fucking sucks. And
Yeah.
so the slower we can get toward or not doing it at all, the better. Like
Yeah.
live service is something that needs to go die in a fire for the most part. I'm not saying it doesn't have its utility. I'm not saying
Yeah.
there shouldn't be live service games. But we are in such a red ocean for live service games. Does every
Yeah.
fucking AAA game have to have a live service component? Everyone?
Yeah.
Really? Really? Every single
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. Like it has its place, but every company doesn't need to try to hop on that gravy train because that boat is filled.
It is. And as we just kind of saw with like what is it, Concord, I think was the newest one
Concord, yeah.
that really kind of hit the dirt nap real fast,
Yeah.
like in record time.
L- Record time. That was crazy.
Man, I'll tell you. So speaking of the terrible, horrible, like no good run that will not end, fucking Sony. They had a brief light spot
Yeah.
with uh with
Yeah.
with Astro Sunshine. Oh,
Astrobot.
sorry, no Astrobot. Um, but
Yeah.
then right after that, like we go into the PlayStation 5 Pro, a system that
Yeah.
nobody seems to know who it's for, and nobody seems to want this thing except Geoff Keighley. Like Jeff Keighley seems to really, really want it. I shared a
Yeah.
meme recently, and it was very fun. I laughed my fucking ass off, and it's like you've got like this like pink, reddish, magenta colored
Yeah, I saw
GF
that.
Keeley. Yeah, like waiting to suck that Sony Pro boot. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, pro
Sony
version of the boot.
PlayStation has released a Pro boot for GF Keeley to suck on.
Yeah,
Like fucking amazing. And I think Rush
yeah.
Dog had said, "Hey, is he gonna does he at least get the kickstand for free?" I'm like, "Fuck no, he's got to pay for that boot kickstand."
Yeah,
But
gotta pay for that too.
he can do it with the bag of money they've already given him.
True. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
good.
that whole situation is interesting because we have our thoughts and our opinions on it. But I was talking to um, one of my friends at work, and so when you come at it from the perspective of some PC players, maybe it it doesn't look like that bad of a deal to some of those guys. Um, and so like yeah, for us, like that sticker shock was like, whoa,
Sure,
$700, that's crazy. Like who is this? Like why? But I guess you have your super enthusiasts and then the people that have been dipping their toes or are in the PC realm, but they also like PlayStation 2, and then they know like what's in this PS5
sure.
Pro would cost about 1,500 or so to build a PC like that. So in talking with my friend at work, he was like, "It's actually not a bad value," but
Yeah, so my
I
response
know,
to that would be, "Oh, well,
yeah,
thank you for your input, high-end PC, bro, but you're not going to be fucking buying the PlayStation 5 Pro. You're not the
yeah,
customer. So you can
yeah,
talk all you want about what a good deal it is. You're not going to fucking buy it either because you've got a $2,800 fucking PC sitting on your fucking shelf. So you're
yeah,
not buying this, so it's not for you. Okay, so check you off. It's not for you. So okay, well the console gamers are having their sticker shock saying, no fucking way. No fucking way
yeah,
am I paying that for a
yeah,
50% improvement on the PlayStation. Right?
yeah.
And so
For me,
okay, so it's not for them. So
yeah.
what is this product and who the fuck is this customer?
I guess we'll find out. There were what about maybe 10, 14 million people that went and got the PS4 Pro. So we'll see what percentage of those people go to the PS5
It took
PS5 Pro.
it took them years, but yeah, they finally got around 14 million, which sounds about right
Yeah,
to me. Here's the thing.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to fail, Justin. I don't think it's going to
Th-
fail.
And to me, that's probably the worst part about it.
Yep. I don't think it's going to fail. I actually
Yeah,
think there's enough people out there that are going to buy that thing.
yeah.
The initial batch will sell out. I hope everybody's ready for that to happen. It's gonna
Oh
happen.
yeah,
It'll sell out. Because the
yeah,
initial batch always sells out, no matter what
yeah.
it
The
is. That's the
super enthusiasts
enthusiast.
will
Yep.
always buy. Yeah.
That's the tech enthusiast. Even people who might have that $2,800 PC I just laughed at saying they're not gonna fucking buy it. Some of them will because they have the disposable income and they just want to test it out.
Hmm.
Take it for a test drive before they never touch it
Yeah,
again. There are people that are gonna do that, guys. There really are.
yeah,
And so my cautionary tale to all of you is for the people rooting for that to fail is be careful. Now that said, the problem is that with that system, I feel like they are moving in a disruptive direction into the PC market. Because
yeah,
I had one viewer ask me, "Well, Zoo, do you think that Nintendo will cannibalize their market?" I said, "No, I think that Sony is trying to move upstream, and I think we're trying to get into. I think that I think it's gonna backfire though. I actually think the PC market is gonna cannibalize the Sony because as the differentiation disappears between console, that's one of the things I try to
yeah.
tell people. Console gaming had a very specific user function that has just
Hmm.
vanished with the 4K twins. It
Yeah,
was already gone with the 360 PS3 and the
yeah,
Xbox One PS4. It was already gone almost. That line, it's been shattered now.
yeah,
Those are really just dumbed down PCs hooked up to a television. And what
yeah,
I'm trying to tell people who like this style of gaming, you can do it with a PC. I'm here to tell you guys that I believe in you. I know you can do it. Here's how you
yeah,
make a dumbed down PC hooked to television, and you could do it with your PC. What you need.
yeah.
This is Zoo's PlayStation Pro. Okay, and it'll be a lot longer lasting than the PS5 Pro. It's going to cost you a little bit more. Well, actually, maybe not. People say that's a $1,500 setup. I've got a PC that barely runs Cyberpunk, so that's the bar to me. Cyberpunk is a bear with the Phantom Liberty update, and it can play Baldur's Gate 3. It can play Baldur's Gate 3. It can play Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. My PC does that. Hear it?
Yeah.
It does that. It cost me $600 in the pandemic to build. So if you shop for parts smart, you do it over time, and you get the deals, which is what I did when I put this baby together. It was a Morrowind machine. I literally built it to play fucking Morrowind, and anything else was icing on the cake. It did that, and it's for around $600. So it's cheaper than the PlayStation 5 Pro. I promise you guys. It's got a T50 Ti chip in it. That will outperform the PS5 Pro in many respects. Now, I'm sure they'll be like the fucking tech guys pushing their glasses up. Well, actually, that's a 6-year-old chip, Zoo. Okay, well, I'm just telling you that for the price, I really enjoy that 1050 Ti NVIDIA chip. And that was a $600 PC I put together. And here's what you do, and it's what I do. So you have the PC. You have a television. You have an Xbox Series X controller. Or Xbox One controller, actually. And you have an extra long HDMI cable. Congratulations. You now have the Zoo PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah.
And you could probably build it for around $600. It might not have the ray tracing, because that's the thing. If you remove the ray tracing and the path tracing and all that fucking bullshit that no one cares about anyway, except like high-end graphics enthusiasts, that's probably $200, $300 right there. So just get the higher end chips, which have come down. They've started to come down in price. Shop for parts and build your own fucking PS5 Pro. Get an extra long HDMI cable and get you a PlayStation 4 controller that works on PC.
Yeah.
Problem fucking solved, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the PCification of console gaming it's had maybe some good parts, but it's been maybe not the best thing for console gaming. And you're already like seeing it. I know Twitter isn't necessarily real life, it's a small portion of what's happening, but you've seen it a lot where so many people are like, I've switched to PC gaming, or
yep.
This might be the last. This will be the last PlayStation I buy because they're already putting their games on PC. I'm okay with waiting. So,
and here's the amazing thing about this too, right? So, console gaming has a definition. A lot of people don't think like, okay, well, we have to define what is console gaming. Nintendo defined it back in the NES era. They said it is the best of both worlds. So you had two primary modes of gaming: arcade and PC at the time. PCs were large experiences you could not play on arcade. They typically had save features or long passwords. They weren't really conducive to PC games. Think like Ultima or Wizardry. Think like games like that. Big games. Arcade games were tactile. They were twitch action, typically. Games like fighters, beat 'em ups, platformers. The console, the NES, one of the great reasons for its success and its disruptive nature was it allowed for things that neither could really do. It combined the tactile twitch action nature of the arcade with the larger experiences of games that were on the PC. Think of a game like Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers 3, and people will say, well, Zoo, that's not necessarily a huge experience. Bull fucking shit. At the time,
back then it was.
Back then, 8 worlds, the blue sky that scrolls, the different biomes and enemies. Super Mario Brothers was a huge game back then. Legend of Zelda, an even bigger game. Metroid, enormous game back then.
Yeah.
But so they're not going to fit. Those are experiences that may not be super at home on an arcade cabinet. At the same token, if you put those on a PC, the PCs at the time, because they didn't have the controllers like we have now, didn't really excel at the twitch action, component.
Right.
So they considered it, Nintendo defined it in their Nintendo Fun Club newsletter as the best of both worlds. The tactile, twitch action nature of the arcade combined with the large immersive experiences of the PC. Things like sim experiences or RPG games. And it combined the best of those both worlds. And the game they did this with was Legend of Zelda. They literally called The Legend of Zelda an action RPG that was the best of both worlds. I've always thought that that's a really good benchmark for consoles, and they're fucking losing it slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Except for one, and that's Nintendo.
Yeah. They'll
Because
be the last one
Nintendo
standing.
understands that integrated hardware and software is a key component of the console.
Yeah. That, and then the biggest thing of them all, that exclusives matter.
Yes. So, boy, Sony finding that out the hard way, aren't they, with all the no games jokes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, they're sure finding that out
Very
the
much
hard
so.
way. And here's the thing. If I firmly believe that if Sony had not, and I get that there's revenue on the PC, and I get it. But what I will tell Sony, I would love to see a breakdown of what they're making on the PC. By the way, they'll never give it. They'll never give it because I don't think it's as much as they want to make their investors think it is. I really think that's a miscalculation. And the reason why, have you ever seen fucking PC gamers' habits, buying habits, or should I say our lack of buying habits?
Yeah.
I bought Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 for $6.
Yeah. Wait for the crazy Steam sales and buying for super cheap.
Uh-huh. Or just fucking pirate it.
Yeah.
We sell it. There's a lot of people selling the C's on PC.
Selling the high C's. Yeah.
So I actually think that Sony is overrepresenting the PC impact on their market value. I suspect that. I can't prove it because they won't give us the numbers.
Yeah, I think it depends on the game. Like with the game like Helldivers from earlier this year,
Helldivers was no, you're right. Helldivers did bang, but I don't think necessarily that Spider-Man 2, when it inevitably comes, is going to do gangbusters on the fucking PC. I don't think it's going to make them as much as they think.
Yeah, it might do another mill or two, but it wouldn't be like.
But look at what they're losing. They're literally losing the credibility of their box as an exclusive console that has exclusive experiences. I honestly think that you're probably better off. I honestly think that they're better off with these exclusive experiences, especially marquee things like the Spider-Man 2s or like the fucking like what's another one that Final Fantasy. They didn't have control of Final Fantasy 16, so I won't say that. But
third parties are one thing, but when it's that first party games, like
first party games, you need to give us a reason to buy your box, especially when your box is largely underpowered from what your competition is anyway.
Yeah.
PlayStation is an underpowered console when you're putting it up against fucking.
We're going up against the PC. Yeah. Every console comes out and it's outdated.
Yep. All right, so let's take a look at some of these comments here. So let's see what we've got. We've got let's see here. So Brooke says, I love Motown music. I think that's where we left off at. Or actually, we left off here. So Monsters, hey, y'all, working again. Just wanted to say hi. I still need to play Ghost Trick. Yeah, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. That's a Mandy joint that Mandy really wants me to play that as well. So that's one it's on the list, guys.
Yeah.
I promise. And then Monster says, thanks, brother, in regards to me calling him a hardworking young man. Brick Barnes says, I love Motown music. Yeah, if you don't love Motown music, you can leave. Like, I'll just put it that way. You can leave. We don't want you here. Nobody wants you here. You're not fun at parties, and nobody wants to talk to you. So the moral of the story, learn to love Motown music.
It's the greatest. I mean, you don't even need to learn. It's just awesome.
Yeah, go just Earth, Wind, and Fire. Just go listen to anything by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
I've been to New Orleans. It's awesome down there. I heard their music. Yeah, New Orleans is a fantastic city. It's also a good food city. It's also a good food city, which ironically enough, I'll tell you guys something else that you don't hear often talked about. Detroit, Michigan, also a good food city.
Oh yeah, we got some good food
Mm-hmm.
there.
So what's
That's
your favorite Detroit export that should be exported but only Detroit people know about?
so
And I'll give you a
there.
Springfield's.
Yeah, so there's maybe three,
Mm-hmm.
4 things every time I go home that's what I have to do, and then that'll be some of what I bring back with me. So restaurants, I have to go to Coney Island, give me some chili cheese fries. They do it the right way.
Chili
And
cheese.
then and then my two exports that I wish that I could have wherever is Fago Pop, and yes, pop, not soda, it's pop. So Fago Pop, and then Better Made chips.
Damn.
Yeah, those are my, like, whenever I leave, I got to make that one last trip to the gas station, give me at least 4 bottles of Fago and at least 3 or 4 bags of chips. Throw those in the luggage and bring them back home with me.
Man. That gosh, I gotta get to Detroit again. Those chili cheese fries sound fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Springfield, Illinois. Number one, the horseshoe. Okay. Ready? Okay, here's the horseshoe. So you mentioned the chili cheese fries with the chili style sauce on the fries. The Springfield has their own kind of version of this. So the horseshoe is traditionally it is a piece of Texas toast. Okay, that is cooked in a pan with the butter. Get it nice and seared. Then you're gonna add a hamburger patty. Okay. On top of that, you're gonna put French fries. And on top of that, you're going to put a rare bit cheese sauce.
Mm,
Fucking delicious.
mm.
Fucking delicious.
Yeah, that
That
sounds
is a
good.
Springfield exclusive. It sounds kind of like
Okay.
heart attack on a plate. I can assure you it is
Yeah,
heart attack on a plate.
yeah.
But it is
I can
very
maybe
good.
take like a couple bites.
Right. Yeah.
But
It will kill you, but you will die
yeah,
happy. Then, of
and
course,
then
there's the
rush.
corn dog, which Springfield, Illinois claims the corn dog. If you've ever been to a fair and you
Yeah.
had that corn dog on a stick, that that you can thank Springfield for that. We claim the corn dog. In particular, the Cozy Dog Drive was the first corn dog. And it's got a little bit of chili
Okay.
powder in the batter, and it's so good. Would be number two. And for number three, I've got to give it up to the Dew Chili Parlor. We have a really, really good chili here. It's a little bit greasy, so people who aren't a big fan of like the kidney suet, like greasy style chili, might not like it. And it has beans, so anybody in Texas is going to immediately be throwing shoes at me. Because it does have beans, but I think that's the same in Detroit too, right? You guys' chili has beans.
No
No
beans like
beans,
that.
okay. Just a meat
Yeah,
sauce, okay. You
yeah,
guys are just meat sauce too, so that's an Illinois thing. The beans,
yeah.
okay. Double
And then
protein
and
in
then
Illinois chilies.
yeah, and then Rush Dog is 100% correct. Detroit style pizza. That's to me that's my favorite style of pizza.
Detroit style pizza is monstrously good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of vouch for that. Again, I have to rep the Chicago deep dish a little bit, but I'll tell you what, like yeah, we're sandwiched in between. For Midwest pizzas, I got to give Detroit got some great fucking pizza. Um, I'm gonna throw out nuclear hot take at some people here. I don't care for St. Louis style pizza. Okay,
Never had it.
it's thin crust and it's got Provel cheese.
Okay.
And it's Provel cheese is a St. Louis, Missouri specialty. I don't feel like it's really creamy tasting. It's got like a real
Hmm.
creaminess to it.
Yeah,
And I
that's
just feel
interesting.
like it takes away from the pizza. It takes away from the tomato sauce and the toppings. And I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of the Provel cheese.
Yeah.
It's just not my favorite. But Detroit pizza, really good. That nice square piece of Detroit pizza,
Mm-hmm.
hard to beat, baby.
Yep.
A good New York hand tossed pizza, hard to beat. And a
Yeah.
Chicago deep dish style pizza. Again, Illinois seems to specialize in cuisine that fucking kills you, but it's really good.
Right.
So Brooke says it's also important in anime too. Yeah, music in anime is And just music. I think you can just say that really and make a blanket point for music in general is just vital.
Yeah,
Like,
it's important.
in
Yeah,
order to be a masterwork, you really, really do need to have
yeah,
good music. If you don't,
yeah,
it's the glue that kind of ties it to memory. I feel like you've got to
yeah,
have that earworm hook that hooks it into somebody's memory and implants it in that memory.
yeah. Yeah, you gotta have you gotta have all the elements.
Hmm.
You need whether when it's anime or movies, you need characters that you care about. You need a story that hooks you in, but the music is also what kind of sets it apart. And then with games, you gotta add that gameplay in there.
100%. Monster says, "Yep, working for retirement." LOL. Yeah, definitely work for retirement. 100%. And I just hope you have a retirement to retire to. That's the thing. But again, I do feel like that's going to the market ebbs and flows, man. We're going into what I feel like is going to be a rough patch, but it'll come out, and that's the time to really make the money anyway. Once it bottoms out, that's when to really make the money. And then Brooke says, "Zoo, you live in Louisville, Kentucky, right?" Wrong, incorrect. I live in Springfield, Illinois, but I do visit Louisville, Kentucky on business several times. That might be where the misconception came from. Yeah, I'm in Louisville a lot, so that yeah. And he says, "All right, do you remember a hospital by the name of Corsair Children's Hospital?" I am Corsair's kid. Oh, I've heard of Corsair's Children's Hospital. So, in what way? Like that you were at Corsair's Hospital, or you're like the owner's kid? Could you clarify that? Because that's interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. Then the monster says, "Yep, Miyamoto made that weird call. There's still a dinosaur planet statue at Rare Studios." I weep for the games that should have been. Dinosaur Planet is one of those. Fluff of Yarn is another one. That was one. See, that was when I was in my Wii investor stage, and like you can actually go back to one of those investor Q&As, and one of the questions that got sent in was like a very like standoffish sounding question about why Nintendo feels that it abandons potential new IPs to stuff old IPs into the new IPs, and how what are they doing to foster new IPs instead of just getting gun shy and stuffing old IPs into those new IPs and robbing
Mhm.
themselves of that potential. You'll see a very standoffish question. That was my investor question. So
Yeah.
that's actually on the public record somewhere in the Wii era.
Nice.
Because literally, Fluff of Yarn. So there was a game called Kirby's Epic Yarn, right?
Yeah.
That game was actually not a Kirby game at all. It starred Prince Fluff, and the game was originally going to be called Fluff of Yarn, and it was a new IP, brand new fucking IP. And Nintendo decided to do what Nintendo did, kind of a holdover from their GameCube practices, more GameCube shenanigans, fucking up the Wii. And they decided, yeah, you know what? We're gonna do a Buffalo Bill on this. We're gonna skin fluff of yarn, and we're gonna skin Kirby, and we're gonna dress Kirby in the fluff of yarn like a suit. And we're gonna do a ghastly Buffalo Bill reskinning. We don't believe in this IP. We're not going to support this new IP with any marketing. We don't believe in it. Instead, we're just gonna stuff Kirby down its throat. And the end result was Fluff of Yarn, which is a very good game. But here's the kicker, and this is what led to the angry investor question, right? The
Yeah.
kicker is a fucking year later, we got Kirby's Return to Dreamland. So they had a Kirby game that they were already actively working on
Yeah.
that was a much better distillation of what Kirby actually was. So why? Why not just take the
Yeah.
risk, Justin? Why not just have your Kirby game? You've already fucking got a Kirby game you're working on actively. Put the
Yeah.
Kirby game out and put Fluff of Yarn out, and let's see if a new IP shows up for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I can see that. And then because like what in Kirby's Epic Yarn, he didn't even really do any like Kirby type
No.
moves. There's no inhaling or
No. It wasn't a Kirby game. But
yeah.
they got cold feet and they didn't believe in it. And it did fine. Now you can argue that it did fine because it was a Kirby game.
Yeah.
But until very recently, Kirby really didn't do all that fine anyway. It did okay. So
Yeah, he did his what 2 to 3, maybe sometimes
yeah,
4
2 to
mil.
3
But
million. Now we're at 5, 6, probably going to be 7, 8 million by the end.
yeah,
For
I
return
think what Kirby.
yeah, Forgotten Land is a beastie. It's a beastie one.
Yeah.
No, it's doing great. But I just feel
Yeah.
like Nintendo robs themselves all the time with this ridiculous strategy. I feel like they rob
Yeah.
themselves all the time. What do you
I
think?
mean, I mean, it's one of those things like you get it because sometimes not everything hits, um, so sometimes you want to go with the sure thing, and I guess um, around that time of the Wii, was that when it was on its like, is that when it was on its downturn
Oh
there?
yeah, no, that was 100%. Yeah, because
Yeah,
the peak of it, because you had Mario Kart and Wii Sports kind of driving the early days
yeah,
where the system was just fucking sold out, and then
yeah,
2008 hit, and that's when, just like all consoles, you saw the PS3, you saw it with the 360, you also even saw it with the mighty Wii. 2008 fucking rocked that world, baby. And
yeah,
it was common knowledge, conventional wisdom that gaming was going to decline with the macroeconomic trends, right?
yeah,
And that was true. That was absolutely happening. But then here comes a game called New Super Mario Brothers Wii a year later in 2009. And
yeah.
even with all the
Blew up.
rest of the industry not really recovered yet, you start to see Wii selling out again
Yeah,
for that first 2D Mario game in 18 years.
yeah,
And so that was kind of the peak. And so it had kind of a mini recovery with New Super Mario Brothers Wii. And then it was all fucking downhill from there. It was Wii Music. It was Mario Galaxy 2. It was Skyward fucking Sword. It was Metroid. Oh, mommy, other M, mommy, remember me. Metroid,
yeah.
other M. Fucking
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Sakamoto nonsense horseshit.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna play through that one, and
don't do it. Don't do
I'm
it,
gonna see
Justin.
what I think.
Don't do it,
I don't know,
Justin.
like one of the my
Don't do
favorite
it.
YouTubers, rule of two.
Mm-hmm.
He stands by there being some good things about other M.
I need to fucking
So
get him on here. We need to have a talk about that.
yeah,
No,
he's a good one.
no, I would like to know what these redeeming qualities are. It's not the combat. It's not the fucking environment. You're on a fucking bottle ship. And of course it's a fucking called a bottle ship. Bottle ship. Get it? Mom.
Bottle.
Mommy issues. Fucking Metroid mom. Bottle ship. Everybody fucking
Yeah.
get it? Do you get it? Isn't Sakamoto so smart? Isn't he fucking Rick and Morty season 5 smart, guys? He's so fucking intelligent. His storytelling is so genius. So subtle. Remember me?
Hey, he redeemed himself with Dread. Dread was amazing.
Yes. I can't
Yeah.
argue with that. I can't argue that. The only thing I can try to do is take it away from him. Was that Sakamoto? Let's check.
Metroid Dread, yeah.
Yeah. Was that Sakamoto?
And he's also behind Emio.
Well, I'll give him Emio because that's not a Metroid game. I want him fucking off Metroid. So that was
No, he
Mercury
was
Steam, but okay, producer Yoshio Sakamoto. Okay. Okay. I will give you Dread. Dread was fantastic. Dread was my favorite game in the series. So I gotta tell you, I feel like that sort of feels bad. Feels bad to say. I'm gonna try to say it. Give me a second. I gotta do a shot for that. Give me a second here. This feels bad, man. I feel like that redeems Sakamoto a little bit. There. Okay. I'll
yeah,
give I give
that is
flowers
so
where
too bad.
flowers are due. Dread was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Still say I was 90% Mercury Steam though. Anyway. We'll see how MEO. We'll see how MEO goes.
Yeah.
So Miyamoto's a
From
legend without a doubt. But yeah, laugh out loud. Yeah, that was a dumb decision. He's the one that made the Dinosaur Planet decision. I get the decision with the copyright shit going on, but man, that was the start of a bad trend. It was Dinosaur Planet. That was the start of a really, really bad trend that basically wrecked the GameCube era for me. Like that whole, yeah,
Really?
we're just gonna skin everything and throw the skin onto another game and call it a, because that was the whole GameCube generation. That's why I had such a visceral reaction to it. It's like, okay, what the fuck is this Mario game? What the fuck does this have to do with Mario Brothers? What the fuck is this Zelda game? And what does this have to do with Zelda? What the fuck is
Oh,
this weird
no love.
Dinosaur Planet game that
No.
should be Dinosaur Planet? Why are we running around with a fucking staff in a Star Fox game? What the fuck is this? And that was kind of my
So no.
reaction throughout that era.
So no love for Wind Waker from you.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. I like real Zelda games, and the chat is aware of this. I'm going to
Yeah.
get shit for that. I like real
So
Zelda games.
in my Nintendo pile of shame, I have not played Wind Waker. So I've been one of those that have been hoping with every passing year that we would finally see that announcement of Wind Waker on Switch.
Me too.
So I could finally play it.
Me too, because I want you to be able to play it if you want to play it. I think that here's the thing. I think there's enough Wind Waker fans. I think Skyward Sword ended up selling around the same it did on the Wii. Just to tell you guys, it sold around 3 million copies. It might have sold a little bit more. I'd have to look at the updated sales figures. Any game that can sell 3+ million copies deserves to be made. It deserves to be. That's a pretty good chunk for the games industry. So I think there is a want and a desire for that style of Zelda game. I do. For that style of not Zelda. But I also want it to come to Switch because I want Wind Waker is a game that has a constant excuse. I told OJ this too when we podcast. It has the excuse that every system it's ever been on has been a failed system. GameCube was a failed system. The Wii U was an even bigger fucking piece of shit of a failed system. So every system that game's ever been on, it has the crutch that, well, it wasn't on a bigger system, so that's where the numbers went. No, fuck that. I want Wind Waker to come to the Nintendo Switch. I need it to come to Switch. That way we can put this fucking shit to rest. When Wind Waker shows up and it sells 3 to 4 million copies, I can finally fucking say I told you so. Or conversely, you guys can say I told you so. Eat crows. Either way, we'll figure out. Somebody's gonna be fucking wrong, and we can finally figure this out. So I'm ready for that discussion to happen. I'm way over ready for that discussion to happen. I think I'm gonna win if it happens, but even if I lose, at least it's settled. I want this to be settled.
Well, I mean, according to a quick little Google search here, it seemed to have done pretty decent for itself, sitting at 6.88 mil.
What did?
So
what did?
That's not
Wind Waker?
Bad. Wind Waker.
Get the fuck out of here! It did so. Let me see this.
Combining both the.
Oh yeah, can't do that. Can't do that. Okay, so what did it sell on the GameCube?
Let's see here.
We're around 4 million, 4.5.
Yeah, 4 million,
cool.
4.4.
Cool beans.
And 2.3 on the Wii U.
I think The Legend of Zelda 2 outperformed that with a cartridge shortage in 1988, with no population growth and no access to the behind the Iron Curtain market.
They're actually pretty close.
Yeah. Well, they're not close. They're not close at all. And let me qualify. Let me qualify that. Legend of Zelda 2 came out in 1988. There were a whole lot less people in 1988 than there were in whenever the fuck Wind Waker came out, right? Yeah. On top of that, there was an Iron Curtain, and there was a Chinese console ban at that time. So we weren't selling any consoles in China. You weren't selling any consoles in Eastern Europe or Russia. Not a thing. You had a cold market. People barely knew what the fuck a Zelda was back then, especially with the first game. So I feel like the fact that they're close, and one game came out in 1988 to a cold market, and the other game came out in 2002? 2003. I think that's shameful. I think that shows decline. That shows massive decline to me.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the GameCube was kind of a cold market too, right?
Fair.
Yeah.
Now again, they made up for that because now you got the two new Zelda games that
Yeah.
have
Oh
just
yeah.
shattered everything.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they've sold so many copies. Like Breath of the Wild has sold so many copies. It's not even worth doing the macroeconomic comparison because you don't have to.
Yeah.
What is it at? Like 26 mil now?
Let's see.
Yeah,
What
it's
does it say
somewhere
here?
crazy.
So yeah, Breath of the Wild currently is at 32, with Tears of the Kingdom at 20.8.
See, even Tears of the Kingdom, which I didn't care for, but
Really?
yeah, I didn't care for it. But I don't argue with sales, man. It's still
Yeah.
I feel like it's still going to be a decline from Breath of the Wild, but being a decline from Breath of the Wild is still you're still
Yeah.
doing better than Zelda 1, adjusted for macroeconomics. You're doing better than Zelda 2. You're doing better than Twilight Princess. You're doing better than Ocarina of Time. So
Yeah.
all of your like marquee sales games and sales department, you've shattered. Even when you do the population increase, even when you do the opening of the Chinese market and the Russian market, the Eastern European market, you don't even have to do that shit. It's such a big jump. I think Legend of Zelda, when adjusted for all macroeconomics, I've done this along. It's like 14 million is what it would have sold if you did the same number today, if you adjusted. Um, yeah, 20 plus million for breath. You're 6 million beyond that. Like it's not even worth. You don't even have to crunch the numbers. It's that crazy. Same with Animal Crossing. Same with Smash Ultimate. Same with Mario Kart 8. What the fuck? Did you hear the
Yeah.
news that came out today, by the way, about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
What the little update that happened?
Well, 6 million sales in Japan. Only four other
Oh yeah,
games.
yeah,
Yeah, only four other
yeah.
games
Saw that.
have done anywhere close to that. I think OJ reported on that, didn't he? Um,
I think I saw it from Stealth.
yeah, it's stealth. Yes, so you've got
Yeah.
Animal Crossing New Horizons, um, that have sold more in Japan. You've got the original Super Mario Brothers that was attached to a console.
Yep.
I think Wii Sports was one, and there was like one other one.
So from Stealth's post, he
Yeah.
said the only games that have sold more physically are Animal Crossing New
Yep.
Horizons, the Super Mario Bros, and then the Pokemon Red and Blue,
Oh, never mind.
and
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Po- and then Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's whoa. It's the game that won't stop, man. It's the game that
Yeah.
just won't stop.
It's the game that kept us from getting a Switch specific Mario Kart.
Yeah, there was no fucking need. There really wasn't. Like
No,
nobody played the
no.
Wii U one. Like give us that game, make it 60 FPS, give us a
Yeah,
battle mode, and let us go.
yeah. I still had a ton of fun with it again on the on the Switch.
Oh,
So
it's so good. It's so good.
yeah,
So then you said the GOAT talking about Miyamoto. Yeah, there's very few I feel like could even be in contention for that. In
yeah,
fact, again, I love to stand Richard Garriott. I think Richard Garriott is huge. I don't think he has the same imprint. I really don't. I think he's a very close second in terms of influence on gaming because we wouldn't have any RPGs basically without
okay,
him and without Garriott and the Wizardry team on the other end of that. But
okay,
Richard Garriott and just the work he did with Ultima, I think is huge. Um, you think of somebody like Will Wright with like kind of your sim games, or like Danielle Boonton with Mule, which gave us like sim games. But in terms of just sheer impact, and I'm not just talking about game development with Miyamoto. Miyamoto, I
yeah,
think, gets the X factor for greatest of all time because Miyamoto multiplied values. He wasn't just a game developer. He was a manager. He's a salesman. He's a
yeah,
product ambassador. He is a cultural ambassador to non-gaming from gaming. Like he's
yeah.
one of those people that is an ambassador of the hobby. I
Oh yeah,
think when those are all things where Richard Garriott, not an ambassador for gaming, really. Richard Garriott's out climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. which is badass. He's going to space.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. More
badass
props to
stuff.
him.
That makes him an interesting person. But in terms of pure impact on gaming the hobby, I love you, Richard, but I think Miyamoto might beat him out, and I think he would probably agree with me in terms of gaming. I think Lord British would actually agree.
Yeah.
I don't think he would
And
argue with that.
yeah, you can't deny the resume, and then even with what he's doing now,
Yeah.
expanding things out to a whole new realm. So,
Well, yeah, he's preparing Nintendo's future is what he's doing. Nintendo is
oh
fucking
yeah,
terrified of this transition. You can tell.
yeah,
They're fucking
yeah.
terrified of this console transition. They're terrified of it. And they have every
I,
reason to
I
be.
would say that I would say they're more calculated than like they just want to get it 100% right.
Thing is, you can get it 100% right, and going into what I feel like this economy is going to be, like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of these motherfuckers are going to get caught holding a bag. I feel like, and it's going to suck. And again, that's no fault of Nintendo's own. That's nobody's fault. It's just here we are. It's
yeah,
2008. It's been we are that train is a little late this time around. And typically, when the train's late, it's even worse. Like every 15 to 20 years, we have one of these so-called recessions. Nobody wants it. The politicians don't want a recession. The business people don't want a recession. The workers don't want a recession. And yet here we are. And it sucks, but I feel like gaming is going to get clobbered with that. And OJ likes to say, and we've had this discussion, like Player Essence will tell you, well, look at the pandemic. No, I don't. I'm not interested in looking at the pandemic because that's a fucking anomaly. You closed down all of gaming's competitors. You closed down outside. You said you can't go outside. What the fuck else are we going to do, OJ? And that's what I told him. It's like, man, what else are we going to do? We're going to play video games. We're going to watch movies. And so that's when you
I
saw the
mean,
on-demand movies surged, video games
yeah,
surged. But we're not going to have a lockdown when this next economic downturn happens. So we're going to be
yeah,
able to go to concerts. We're going to be able to go outside. All of the stuff that gaming competes with naturally in terms of just competing for our fucking time is going to be available to us. And so it's much cheaper to go outside. It's much cheaper to attend a local concert than it is to
yeah.
to play.
Maybe a local one, but not a concert.
Oh yeah, no. If you're going to see like a national, if you're going to see fucking Taylor Swift, yeah, well,
Yeah,
you're better off buying the $60 video game, but
yeah,
more bang for your buck. But
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of local entertainment that's going to compete and take money out of video games' fat ass pockets all day long. I feel like. And I don't know. I'm not as sunny about things as OJ and a lot of other people are. I think Nintendo is getting ready to. Um, actually, I've got the thoughts. Let me see if I can find them. I'll just read them to you. Kind of my prognosis. It's not doom and gloom. Like I get accused a lot of being doom and gloom. I wouldn't call it doom and gloom. I think it's a pretty well-footed prognosis. Bear with me. I've got to get through my massive shitting on the PlayStation 5 Pro feed to get to it. It's like fucking 90 pages of me just shitting on that thing and posting other people shitting on that thing.
Right.
Um, but then I started the day actually with violence in Nintendo's direction, which is really funny.
Really?
Yeah, I said, so here's what I said. I said, until we see hardware and launch titles, Nintendo Next prognosis is cautiously negative. Switch was a boat with no expectations, sailing a blue ocean in good times. Nintendo Next will be a boat with big expectations, sailing a red ocean in bad times. So unless the hardware and software change this equation, I can only see decline going from the Switch to Nintendo Next, with the only question being how much of a decline that will be. That's basically the analysis I put
Yeah.
forward. Is no matter what, just on the economy alone, Nintendo Next will be a decline from Nintendo Switch. It just will be.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't
So see, yeah,
necessarily mean Nintendo is going to be bottomed out. I don't believe that. But I'm
yeah.
just saying, all these people who are saying, "Oh, Nintendo Next is going to be in a position to surge past the Switch," I don't believe it, and I just don't believe it. But what do you
I
think?
see. I haven't seen a lot of people saying that it would like blow past the Switch, but like even if it does decline, I
which it
still
will.
think we've had this conversation
Yeah,
before, but even if there is a decline, I still think it'll be a massive success. Though
I
I
agree.
feel like
I
I feel
do
like
agree
the
with it.
stage, is set now for Nintendo to, unless they just get in their own way, the stage is set for them to pretty much never have another failure again. you know,
Well, you
as
got it.
long as they
Well,
can.
and OJ talks about this too, Justin. OJ
Yeah.
talks about this too. Furukawa is not Iwata. Furukawa
No.
is not Yamauchi, who was a
Yeah.
smart businessman. But
Yeah.
Yamauchi was prideful, dude. He was prideful.
Yeah.
And Iwata was more like developer playtime guy.
Yeah.
Again, I love Iwata and I love Yamauchi for different reasons.
hmm
Furukawa is a really calculated dude, man.
Yeah.
And I think that
How I've
helps.
always Yeah, how I've always looked at it with Furukawa and Iwata is, in Iwata you had your Steve Jobs that got
Yeah.
Apple to where it needed to be,
Uh-huh.
and then in Furukawa now you
Tim
have
Cook.
your Tim Cook
Uh-huh.
that can take the foundation that was laid and then take it to another level,
How
which
fucking
is
cool is
just
that
just off.
when that happens in executive leadership and you literally have like
Yeah,
back to back fucking visionaries, like you say, in their own way.
yeah,
And I do feel like Nintendo kind of has that going on right now for sure. Um,
yeah,
like
and I
Iwata
think
did give us the Switch. People forget that was Iwata,
hmm
and Furukawa
and I
just took
think
that foundation and built it.
Yeah, and I think like the thing that they have going in their favor for them right now is that this is like, without a doubt, been the best transition that they've had so far,
Yeah,
going heading into a new system.
yeah, they've got, because that's always, I was talking about that on the other podcast, just I think last time, is basically if you look at the development of any Nintendo system,
hmm
the bottleneck is always with the software. And the reason for that
Yeah,
is Nintendo is often having to rush from a rapid decline in system sales. So they're rushing into the next system and the software is not ready. That has been
yeah,
their problem since the N64, right?
yep, yeah,
Honestly, kind of since the Super Nintendo, to be honest. We had Mario World, but if you remember, that Super Nintendo launch was pretty slim pickings indeed when it first showed up. And
yeah,
Sonic ate its lunch. Sonic ate its lunch for years, until you got to Donkey Kong Country, and then Donkey Kong Country fucking stomped their ass. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, long story short, yeah, there's the fact that, yeah, please note, and I want to make this clear to the audience, a decline, like Justin said, a decline is not necessarily gonna mean Nintendo is doomed. All the Nintendo is doomed clowns continue to get clowned for that very reason. Nintendo has their financial ducks in such a good row, even when they do decline. Now, there is some danger because Nintendo seems to have put all of their eggs in one basket, the hybrid basket now. So there is no dedicated handheld to buoy a transition if it goes awry. Although I think Rush Dog has put forward something that I've also talked about. But Rush Dog has the idea that, hey, worst case scenario, the Switch can become that dedicated handheld to buoy the
yeah,
transition. So it's
yeah,
not like the Switch is going to stop being supported. That's going to help buoy it
yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
Nintendo's prospects. You'll have Nintendo Next, whatever the fuck that happens to be. And
yeah,
let's not forget what Nintendo's actual masterstroke in preparing for all this: the theme
yeah,
parks and the movies.
yep. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yep.
they've always wanted to have a three-pronged approach,
Uh huh.
and now they finally have that. They have their pillar with the video games, but now you have the movies where the Mario movie, next Mario movie is scheduled for 2026, right?
Hmm.
And then now you have the Zelda movie, and now you have your theme parks, even their stores, and now the museum. So
I've got a
and
crazy
and
nuclear take that I
and
get
merch.
just savaged on. Is I want to see the new Zelda movie, especially if it ends up being
Mhm.
like an Illumination doing it. You'll notice that the Mario movie took a lot from the Mario Super Sunday show. Took a lot from it in terms of Easter eggs and and being a
Yeah,
plumber from Brooklyn that everybody fucking
yeah,
forgot about. That it's the
yeah,
actual lore of the character. Yeah, baby. I would also like to see the Zelda movie take from the Legend of Zelda television show. Now, Now, please hear me out. I'm not talking about excuse
Yeah, I
me,
was gonna say
princess.
we can't have no
Not,
excuse from
I'm
Princess
not
Zelda.
talking about that. I'm talking about the dynamic between Princess Zelda and Link in that show is very fun. It's a very fun dynamic. And I'm talking about like the heroism of night in dark fantasy wonderland, right? That
Yeah,
show really emphasizes. So I really think there ought to be a little bit of a fun character dynamic between Princess Zelda and Link.
yeah,
I think that really makes for like an interesting play off one another. I love how they did that. I'm telling you guys, the show is better than y'all remember it being. I know Excuse Me Princess is a fun meme. I know
yeah.
it's a fun meme. But just go back and check that fucking show out, man. It's better than everybody remembers, I promise.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how they do the dynamic there. But I think what is they already have had the director, so it's not going to be in the Illumination vein. They have
Oh, am I not
the
caught up
guy.
on the news? What's going on with that then?
Yeah, the director and writer is the guy that's behind the most recent Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh God, well that's gonna be good too. Those are fantastic.
Yeah,
Talk about the Caesar
yeah,
Planet of the Apes movies,
hmm
dude. Those
yeah.
are great.
Well, the most recent one that came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I've heard good
Well,
things though.
yeah, it was really good, and like
Okay.
even in watching that, you could see some things where like, oh, okay, I could see that. I could see that in the Zelda movie, and
Fuck yeah, man.
so
Okay.
watching that Planet of the Apes movie this year made me feel really good about the Zelda movie coming up.
That actually excites me. Yeah, if you're not
Yeah,
going to do the animation, you might want to go a little bit more of a serious track, and it sounds like that might be what they're doing. And I'm good with that
yeah,
too. I'm good
yeah.
with that too. Like if you're going to do like but it's got to be a legendary story,
Oh
and
yeah.
like make sure. So I guess we can throw Pig Ganon out then. Damn. Okay, I kind of wanted to see, but probably for the best, honestly. I
Yeah.
feel like that's probably for the best. See, I didn't know. I thought this was going to be like all animated movies, so they're going to be doing some real life,
No.
some live action shit too.
hmm
Oh
Yeah,
my
this one's gonna
god,
be live action.
that's fucking exciting.
Excuse me.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's
So
cool. How
so
fuck
it
did
could
I
be
miss that?
the
What kind of Nintendo
it could be the
YouTuber am
Lord
I?
of the right. So it could be the Lord of the Rings epic that we thinking it could be. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
Look at Lord of the Rings. Yeah, look at Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Please don't look at the Rings of Power. That's a mess. And it's not even a mess for what some of the dipshits are saying, where they're in their weird culture war nonsense. I'm talking about the fact that Amazon bought the right to the fucking appendices and only the appendices. So they spent billions of dollars to get the rights to the fucking appendices with none of the support structure. Like, there's nothing you can do with that, Justin. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
do with that adequate. Like
Yeah, that's
I don't
pretty
know how that happened. I don't know why that happened. Why you wouldn't at least spend some extra billions and get some of the other support material aside from the appendices,
yeah.
so you could actually fucking tell a real story. But like, yeah, imagine you're doing the Lord of the Rings, Justin, but you
Yeah.
can't talk about the Cimmerillion or any of the characters of the Cimmerillion or any of the events of the Cimmerillion. Can't talk about the Hobbit, any of the characters of the Hobbit, any of the events of the Hobbit. Oh, and the Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, can't touch that either. Any of the characters, any of that. Even Gandalf,
Yeah.
you can have Gandalf. You got to call him like the fucking Skyman, Starman, or whatever fucking shit. Can't call
Yeah,
him
you gotta
Gandalf.
dance
Can't.
around it.
Yep. Can't use any of that. You cannot. They'll sue you. Can't use any of it. Let's make a Lord of the Rings show with none of the Lord of the Rings material. That's what they did.
Yeah,
So
that's a weird decision.
it's I don't. It's Jeff Bezos too. You're the richest man in the fucking world. Spend the money, buy it all.
Yeah.
That way you can actually put something down that works.
Yeah.
Instead, you got like Sauron fucking like crying because he wants to get in like Galadriel's skirt or some shit. And it's just, I don't know what the fuck y'all are doing, but Sauron, don't cry. Sauron is an asshole. Um, I don't know. I guess you have to get creative when you don't have any of the rights to any of the characters.
Yeah.
Like
I
only the
would
stuff,
say
only
like
in the appendices, only what's in the appendices.
yeah. I would say for what they had to work with, they did a fairly decent job.
Production
Like, yeah,
value is
maybe,
fantastic.
yeah,
The story is just butchered though.
yeah,
Like, man, there was some cool stuff. Like I like how they turned the Southlands into Mordor. I thought that was neat.
yeah,
It's really cool seeing Numenor. I'm really, really glad because we did get Numenor because that's in the appendices, and so we got to see Numenor for the first time. That was fucking badass. But
yeah,
man, I would have loved to see what they could have done if they would have actually had some of the other material, like
yeah.
to just
That would have been
expand that a
cool.
bit. And there, because you can tell if you've seen it, they're talking around so much shit, and they're changing stuff. Like for example, her brother that spurred her to want the revenge against the orcs, right? Which is
Hmm.
fine, but her brother was killed by a werewolf. He wasn't killed by Sauron. Her brother was killed by a werewolf. But can't talk
Really?
about that werewolf. That werewolf's not in the appendices. Can't do it. Can't talk about
Hmm.
that. So you got to change it around. It's.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm a huge fucking Lord of the Rings dork, and it triggers the fuck out of me. It does. Because that show
I
could
get
have
it.
been great. That show could have, with the budget it had and some of the talent associated with it, could have been a great show.
Yeah,
The dwarf
no,
stuff is really interesting. I really like some of the stuff they're doing with the dwarfs.
yeah,
In terms of like that's some cool shit. Getting to kind of expand on them, but they just don't have enough of the rights. They just don't have enough of the rights. And
yeah.
and that might not even be all Amazon's fault. Let me just say that could also be the Tolkien estate's fault for being,
It, it,
greedy.
it might have been what they allowed them to even
Right.
get.
But again, you would think like protect Tolkien's legacy, man. And that means if you're
Yeah,
gonna greenlight a show, let them do the show.
go,
Let them
yeah, go,
fucking let them cook.
yeah, go all
They
the way.
they didn't let him cook. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so sorry, total aside on that. But yeah. So Lord of the Rings, great, would be great inspiration. Sword in the Stone, Zelda 2 was Nintendo's take on Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty kind of be a good thing to kind of look at for inspiration.
Yeah,
Any of those old, like dark fantasy tales would be
yeah,
great. And I look forward to that. That is news
yeah,
to me, and that excites me. Because
yeah,
if they're actually doing like the live action direction, that could be amazing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
who's your pick to play Link in Zelda and
Just to upset everybody, Tom Holland. No, not really.
Ganon? I've heard that for a live action Link, you could do worse.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. You got my man in Dune that,
That's who
that
I
could
was
be,
thinking. Actually, Dune.
yeah,
What did you think of the Dune movies? Holy hell, those are now. You want to talk about
yeah,
a good adaptation?
yeah. No, those are
Fuck.
really good. The first one I had to watch two times to
Right.
really like it, just because that first time, not knowing what I was getting into, I was like, is something gonna happen in this thing? It took a little while to get going.
I adored both of those. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, but
Like,
no, yeah, I like both of those. Those are
yeah,
really
very
good.
good. That's what can happen when you have full rights and you have, the full. That's what can happen.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, yeah, those. If you guys haven't seen Dune and Dune Part Two, like, you're doing yourselves a disservice. If you like sci-fi
Yeah.
at all, you need to see it. What do you
Yeah.
think now? Now they said that Dune for the longest time was like doing an adaptation that perfect. They said was
Mhm.
impossible. Um, with that being said, how do you think our odds are of them finally tackling something like Foundation now? Do you think that
Uh,
kind of gives us the possibility
well,
of doing the Foundation trilogy
I think they were already there's a Apple TV show.
for
Um,
Foundation?
yeah.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, I got to get Apple TV. Is
and
what that means.
yeah, and I think it's from what I've seen and heard that it's supposed to be pretty good.
Foundation Apple TV. Holy shit. Jared Harris plays Harry Seldon. Who's the mule?
Oh, I don't know.
Is the mule even there yet? Oh my gosh, you got to be David S. Goyer, who did like the Dark Knight. Oh my gosh, this is okay. Now we've gone from to the music cast to the movie cast now, guys. But or TV cast. Oh my god, yeah, they do. Foundation is an American science fiction television series created by David S. Goyer and Josh Friedman for Apple TV, loosely based on the Foundation stories. Who's the mule? Or are they even at it yet? It looks like they're not to the mule yet. Let me just Control F. Okay, yeah, Michael Pressbrandt as the mule. Okay. Wow. Oh, holy hell! I gotta get more in the know about Hollywood and television again. Man, yeah, that's right up my alley. I will be getting Apple TV like ASAP.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that. So okay, so we got Dune, we got Foundation, we eating good in sci-fi.
Yeah. There's some good stuff out there.
So the monster says 100% about Miyamoto. Mike Clark says Miyamoto is video games. I'm not gonna go that far, but he's pretty fucking close. He's definitely, without Miyamoto, I think you lose like a foundational thing in video games for sure. Nintendo looks genius now compared to Sony. 100%, man. 100%. Like this is Nintendo's game. Put it this way: this is entirely Nintendo's game to lose, and the only way that would happen is they would have to, like you said, Justin, they would have to take it from themselves because ain't nobody taking it from them. Not this Sony, not this Microsoft. They're not taking nothing from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Mike Clark said AAA is live service and our Souls and all Souls like boring as fuck. Hey, I like a good Souls like game, but the live service trash needs to go away, or at least mitigate. Not everything. Again, there's a time and a place for live service trash, but it's not every single game ever. It's not every game.
Yeah. Just every company doesn't need to. We need to find our live service thing just so that we can get in on that money.
Absolutely.
Like if somebody actually has like a legit idea that they're passionate about and want to develop, then all right, cool. Let's see what's up with that. But just trying to hop on this money train and seeing all these things fail, obviously it's not working. So
So the monster says, yeah, Sony is saying it's a 4060 equivalent card. Yeah, I don't believe that. No. Not for no $700. No way. Yeah, no way. No footage or sources, LOL. Also, if it was a 4060 equivalent, it wouldn't just be twice as much power, 50% more power. It would be like 1.5 times the power. So if they're saying 4060, they are lying. That is a lie. There's no fucking way. Now they say equivalent, which means, by the way, the fact that they say equivalent monster means it's not a 4060. That's what that means. So that there's their out, so that they don't get their ass sued off by their investors, because that was a public statement, I would assume. And public statements can be taken as statements to investors. So anything to say public, gotta watch out.
Yeah, definitely.
AMD is the product, and Sony and Microsoft ate it up. Yeah, AMD. So yeah, I have a NVIDIA card, but I hear good things about the AMD cards too. So I'm not gonna shit too much on AMD because I just don't know a lot about it. I know NVIDIA has the DLSS tech, which I think is what OJ talks about in terms of some of my concerns and critiques about battery bottleneck, etc. I think OJ's response is that the DLSS will kind of handle some of that. So. Yeah, it's very possible. And I know a lot more about NVIDIA because it's what powers my PC and it's what powers Nintendo than I know about AMD.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that NVIDIA I have a vested interest in NVIDIA because, like the entire fucking U.S. economy, the entire U.S. economy is right now balanced on the head of the NVIDIA pin. It's all there. The entire economy is in NVIDIA right now. So,
really?
Yes. Yeah, it's scary as fuck. It's actually the sell-off's going to be coming. So it's about time to make some money. But it's timing that sell-off that is kind of the golden goose, man. It's timing that sell-off and getting it just right. That's the tricky part. So Rush Dog says, good evening, everyone. So Rush Dog's in the house, and Rush Dog says, but does your setup have a vertical stand, Zoo? So not only does it have a vertical stand, my PC doesn't need a fucking vertical stand. My PC stands up just fine. Doesn't even need the vertical stand. Which, by the way, there's another critique of Sony and their design. Why you can't tell me that Sony can't design a system that can fucking stand up on its own. You can't tell me
Right.
that's the case. Like, you can design a system that
it?
can stand up on its own. You're just goaling people now. You're just goaling them. And then Monster says, "Nah, you had to pay $30 for that stand." But you know what? I give you. It could be like there could have been. I don't see any kind of stand doodad on the PC, but you never know when you're building these PCs, especially when you're like me. Just tell them, hey, make sure it can play Morrowind and make sure it can also play some modern games, and just put it together for me. And so who knows what they fucking threw in, to be fair, Monster. Maybe it stands up on its own because they fucking made it stand up on its own, and they charged me $30. Who can say? Not this guy. 90s handheld gamer in the house. What's going on, 90s? What's going on? Everybody's saying, yo, what up to 90s and Rush? The Monster says. Rush Dog says, hey, 90s. I won a 333X battle in Splatoon earlier. What's up with you? Yeah, Rush Dog, boy, he's doing some real momentum for that non-big man team, isn't he? So I'm glad to see it. Glad to see, Rush. I'm so glad to see that you're out there earning for not big man.
I got to get in on this Splatoon action.
You will be siding with big man, of course.
I was thinking about being from the philosophical point of view. I was thinking about team present.
Oh my fucking gosh. Forget about philosophy and all that shit. Big man.
Big man.
It's whatever big man picks. You guys are killing me. It's whatever big man picks. I hate to sound like a cultist, but big man is life. Anyway, I won one of those extra battles too, but lost most matches tonight. That's okay. By the way, I'm still gonna add you. We're still gonna play Sunday, and we're gonna make up for Rush Dog's betrayal, and we are gonna stand big man this Sunday. So we're gonna do it. That's what it took to get me motivated. Like, also I suck, so maybe with our powers combined, maybe you and me 90s can equal one Rush Dog and at least sort of turn the tide here. And so let's see. What up, Monster? And then Rush Dog says, absolutely 90s. Monster says, not much 90s actually working at the moment. LOL. 90 says, that's what's up. I listen to a lot of YouTube at work myself. Me too, guys. Me too. Yeah, I just throw on something and just go to town. Because, yeah, that's absolutely. Monsters, I think there's numbers for a few. Days Gone did very well. So talk about PC numbers. Do we actually have PC numbers for Sony games? That's pretty cool. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. And Monsters is on the PC, and I think Horizon did too. Now, Sony did give us Horizon's PC numbers, and that one did do good. Yeah. Rush Dog says there were some best of both world console games that predate Zelda, like Adventure Tour and Sword Quest on Atari 20. Yeah, I've never heard of the Adventure game, or maybe I have. It's just so Adventure is probably such a bland title I can't picture it. But Sword Quest, I know of. I know of Sword Quest and those kind of games on Atari 2600 for sure. And absolutely, Sword Quest was kind of the predating of Zelda. It was kind of the primordial Zelda. Just like a game like Jump Bug or Pac-Land, which are games that nobody knows about. Nobody. But Jump Bug and Pac-Land are Mario, kind of proto-Mario games, which were the first scrolling platformers. Yep. Now the Monster says the New Yorker, I do want to try Detroit style pizza. Yeah, no. Are you familiar with Goldbelly, Monster? By the way, not sponsored. Just want to throw it out there. Zoo does no sponsorships. But if you're looking for authentic Detroit pizza, Goldbelly might be something to look into just to try to order one. I think they ship them in threes because I've gotten some really good Detroit pizza. Let me get my Goldbelly account up real quick because that's what I do too sometimes. Now, it is expensive, guys. Goldbelly can be pricey. But so the one I got from, actually the last one I got was a place called Michigan and Trumbull. actually ships Detroit pizzas nationwide. And it's good. It's really good. And you'll know it because it comes in a square. It's like a signature. It comes in a square, and it's got a crust that's not thin and not thick. It's got its own kind of deal with the crust.
You can get crust on two sides.
Oh. Then Rush Dog says Detroit style pizza is awesome. Justin's 1,000% correct. It's pop. Yeah, they say pop. Yeah, so we're soda in Illinois, but I've always liked pop, and you'll occasionally hear me say pop actually on stream just because I like the way it sounds. So I am a traitor when it comes to that. Like, I agree with you guys actually on that. I think pop is the better term for cola or soda or whatever else the fuck people call it. Sody. I think I've heard some people in the South call it like a bunch of savages. No, it's pop. I would agree. I out of habit say soda, but pop is the correct nomenclature. I agree with you guys. Detroit style pizza is the best. Monster says, yeah, it looks dang good. Can't lie. So I'm gonna poll the chat now because I've got to know this. You can tell a lot about people by the way they answer this question. How do we feel about pineapple on pizza? I know what Justin is going to say before he says it. We're Midwesterners. We both know what we're going to say. But I want to see what the chat says.
I don't hate it.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks dang good. Can't lie. Rush Dog says deep dish is a casserole, not pizza. Why, Iona? Deep dish is absolutely a pizza. Absolutely a pizza. Yeah, that Chicago deep dish looks depressing to me. You fucking guys, are you kidding me right now? Don't knock it till you try it, monster. You want to try the Detroit pizza, and I'll sing its praises. But you also got to at least try Chicago deep dish pizza. Casserole. Then I'd recommend trying it still, but it's not for me. Fair. That's completely fair. But casserole, that's harsh, man. That hurts. New York City and Detroit pizza are both amazing, though. Yeah, I like both of those. Yeah, the only pizza I don't like is St. Louis style pizza. And again, it's not. I can eat it. It's just not my favorite. And the monster says, "Yeah, I would definitely give it a shot." Mm-hmm. Now, Justin, have you ever had the St. Louis style pizza?
No, never had that.
It's worth a try. You might like it, but imagine like the cheese, except instead of having like mozzarella cheese or like the cheddar cheese, something that's a little sharper, you have like this extraordinarily like creamy cheese, almost like a milky taste in your mouth. It's really, really creamy cheese.
Yeah.
You either love it or you hate it. So Britt Barnes says, I've been a patient a few times. They saved my life twice. Oh my goodness. Okay. So patient at that hospital. Yeah, I've heard of the hospital. It's a very famous children's hospital, but hospitals like that, like St. Jude's, like normally I'm a little bit charity suspicious in general, but there's some charities you just know are doing good work. Their reputation precedes them. And a lot of them happen to do with children's hospitals. Like, it's a safe bet. If you can't think of where to throw your money, it's a pretty safe bet that a children's hospital could use it. It's kind of a good rule of thumb I use. Yeah. Maybe they'll do a re-release of Epic Yarn with a Prince Fluff mode or something. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. And then Zoo, we might have to do a Kirby cast one day, Lamau. I'm up for a Kirby cast. Let's do it. Rush Dog says you might have a problem with Metroid Fusion 2, Zoo, as it takes place on a space station as well. Is it called a bottle ship? I don't know. I couldn't get past the fucking name, man. Like, oh, that whole thing, that whole stupid ass thing. Rush Dog said, with that said, the Retro Dread experience is greatly enhanced if you played Fusion. I'm going to have to play Fusion eventually. There's no excuse. Yeah. I could get NSO and stop being such an old man. I've done it with Mass Effect on Steam. I need to do it with Nintendo Switch Online and just bite the fucking bullet. And that'll let me play Fusion and Golden Sun. I need to do it. So, yeah. And it might change my opinion of Sakamoto because my understanding is that Fusion was also Sakamoto, is my understanding. And a lot of people say Fusion is the best, and it has the best horror elements, people say. So I don't know. It could be that I'm skewered because the main game I played that is a Sakamoto game, aside from Dread, was Other M. And oh my god, bad. What's everyone's ranking? So Justin has entered the illustrious and at this point outnumbering the drinkers Kool-Aid Club. He's having water, and we always have water and Kool-Aid for the non-drinkers. But again, he was just coming in off a workout, and the last thing you want to come in and do after a workout is drink and dehydrate yourself. Do not do that ever. So he's making the right choice. He's making the healthy choice. Whereas I am being a big fat fucking slob because I am having a Lincoln Lager from Rolling Meadows Brewery, which are beers you can't even fucking get anymore. So it's a beer kind of night for me for a Friday. But these are great. These are absolutely fantastic, and they're basically extinct. So you will pay out the ass for them when you find them in the wild. But I'm willing to do
it. Speaking of the workout, I gotta get to some dinner with my wife here.
Time to head out.
Yeah,
sounds good. I will finish everything solo. But buddy, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. Wife always takes precedence over video game talk, 100% of the time. So you go ahead. You get caught up. You go eat with your wife, and we will break the record some other time. We'll do a part 2 maybe sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime,
sounds good. Well, before you go, I always like to give a couple of things here. Depending on how much time you have, do you have any questions for me before you go?
What is your favorite game of all time and your favorite system of all time?
Favorite game of all time is the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. I don't know how else to answer that question at this point. It's got a little bit of everything I like in terms of a beautifully rendered world, a deep history, deep lore, and a story that spans thousands of years of history and puts you in an absolutely prophetic moment. It's amazing experience top to bottom, and it's still being worked on by a team of passionate fans who are still building the world of Morrowind and building onto it. Because when we first got it, we only got the province, and now they're starting to build the rest of the country based on the lore that Bethesda Softworks put available. It's great. Favorite system of all time is the Nintendo Switch at this point. I think the Nintendo Switch just has it all. Prior to that, I would probably say the Super Nintendo was my favorite. Yeah. Any other questions for me?
No, man. Appreciate you for having me on.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime. So with that said, I've got one last question for you, and then I'll run through the chat solo. Justin, did you have fun?
Yeah, no, this was a good, fun conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, man. We'll definitely have to have you on again soon. But he's gonna go ahead. I think Justin's gonna go ahead and log off. He's gonna go get with the wife, and he's gonna go have dinner. So one last time, tell everybody where they can find you, Justin, and definitely go give this guy a sub. His channel will be linked, as well as Twitter, in the link below on the video too. So go give this man some love. He's just getting started on the YouTube path, and he's got some good stuff. Yeah, his most recent video with the top 10 was really fun.
I appreciate that. Yeah, just getting started. Maybe about 2 months in on my YouTube journey. The channel is called Just Keep Playing, and then I'm on Twitter at JSmith-Williams. So yeah, come through, say what's up.
Thanks a million, man. I really appreciate you coming on. You have a great rest of your night, and tell the wife thanks for putting up with me this long.
No worries. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and see you later, chat.
See you later, buddy. Take care. Thanks again for coming on.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you. Bye.
All righty. Now, Rush Dog says that I'm really enjoying MEO too. Yeah, I'm looking forward to MEO because it looks like a really dark story. And I was telling the chat earlier, Rush, that this will be my first Super Famicom game. So I'm actually really, really pumped about that as well. I think I'm gonna have to get I've got Brooke, Barnes, and Miss Mandia really, really surging to try to get me to do Ace Attorney. So I think Ace Attorney is gonna come first. But I think the next one after Ace Attorney will probably be MEO. And Brooke Barnes says, some of those donated Nintendo consoles that I played when I was there, I had some DK games while I was there too. So there's Nintendo again, just doing awesome work with the Children's Hospital. So that's awesome. Oh man, Wind Waker is better than any slop rolled out by FromSoft. Disagree, Mike Clark. Dark Souls is the Zelda experience that I yearned for until Breath of the Wild. Dark Souls hit that itch. Now, I don't know about the others. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 2. I didn't like it. And I didn't really get too far into Dark Souls 3. I love what I played of Bloodborne, but I will stand Dark Souls. Dark Souls and Demon Souls, I will stand. Those are great fucking games. Those games are, to me, more Zelda than anything that has happened post Ocarina of Time. If that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't to a lot of Zelda fans. Rush Dog said Richard Garriott doesn't have the lengthy career Miyamoto has had. The mentorship of Miyamoto to young Nintendo devs cannot be understated. Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Yeah, I think you've got to give it to Miyamoto in terms of when we're talking about the GOAT. I do think it has to be Miyamoto, even given some of my anger at him over some of the direction of Mario at times and some of the direction of the company at times. I still think Miyamoto is the GOAT. And that is a great point. Like, yeah, Richard Garriott kind of got his legs cut out from under him from EA. Kind of cut his legs out from under him and basically made him kind of leave gaming aside from Tabula Rasa for a long time. Bad taste in his mouth, etc. He's talked a little bit about it. But he definitely doesn't have the mentor. Yeah, Miyamoto basically mentored an entire crop of like the next Nintendo developers that are going to be doing genius for us like from here on, like seriously. Rush Dog said, that said, even Miyamoto has a few stinkers to give, so give Sakamoto a break. Yeah, Rush Dog is always cautioning me that I need to be a little kinder to Sakamoto, and he's probably right. Like, he really is probably correct. Monster says, yeah, I agree, Rush, LOL. And then Rush Dog said, the pandemic also saw direct payments to household. Is this something that will happen as a response to the next recession? Unknown. Not here in fucking America, it won't. I can almost guarantee you that. America didn't even want to pay out what they paid out. I think we got like, what, 2 fucking payments here in the States? Remind me, guys. I don't know. I didn't really count on it. Thank goodness I'm pretty well financially gilded, but the pandemic was tough on a lot of people. Basically, there's a lot of states that locked down. And then on top of that said, hey, also, yeah, you can't go to work. You're locked down. And also, yeah, but we're not going to pay either. I kind of liken it in terms of how America treated the pandemic. I'm not even going to kid you guys. I kind of liken it to, imagine like we're all in a car, right? We're all in this car called America during the pandemic. We're in a car. We're all going to the same place. Now imagine that, the car breaks down. Now we all got to get where we're going. So you'd think you'd put the car back on the road, get the car fixed up. No, what they did is they came and they took all 4 wheels and hubcaps off the car, and then they ripped the radio out as well. So they left us sitting with no wheels and even took the fucking radio away from us. Like, I don't know. I feel like our response to the pandemic was absolutely terrible. Like, this absolutely incredibly terrible to the pandemic. And again, I'm not necessarily a fan of the lockdowns. I think they could have been necessary. But if you're going to lock people down, you've got to pay them. And we just didn't. We did the worst of all possible choices. At least we did here in my home state. Now, in America, it's state to state. So it could be different in, say, your state. But, man, Illinois was not a winner for that, for sure. The Monster says, I think they end up doing real life Ocarina of Time for the movie. Yeah, real life Ocarina of Time, you could do a lot worse. I mean, Mike Clark says, laugh out loud, the Zelda show. Yeah, you laugh, but go back and watch it, Mike Clark. Go back and watch it, I promise. It's better than you think it is. Excuse me, princess, notwithstanding. That's the only thing everybody remembers. Super Retro Force is in the house. What's going on? Super Retro Force bros are here. Always glad to see you stop in. Thanks again, man. Glad to see you. The Monster says, yeah, I ain't paying for Gold Belly. Laugh my ass off. Yeah, Gold Belly's, it's not cheap. The Monster says, I know there's a frozen Detroit pizza blowing up around here at the moment. Oh, nice. Monster says, what's up to the Super Retro Force boys? Brick Barnes says it's fine. Monster says it's okay. Rush Dog says fusion doesn't take place on a biological research station. On a biological research station, not a bottle ship. Well, that's great. That automatically makes it better. Well, I worded that poorly. Rush Dog said fusion takes place on a Federation biological research station, which is cool because maybe we learn more about the Federation. And then Rush Dog saying hi to Super Retro Force. And that concludes the comments. So I guess I will give a few moments to pop. Anybody have any other questions for me solo? Or if not, we can go ahead and get to the rest of our weekend. It's up to you guys. I'll give it a few minutes here. While I take a quick look and see what's happened on Twitter. While I let that populate and see if there's anything interesting I can see. So Paul Gale always has something interesting. He says from software for September 2nd through the 8th. So there's a game called Toho Danmaku Kagura, Fantasia Lost on the Fantasia Lost. Okay, that's why. 16,631. Astrobot is in number 2 at 12,672. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection has come out. I need to get that one too. That way I can complete the set. 10,502. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, It Will Never Leave, is number 4, 8,883. Nintendo Switch Sports, 8,154. A game called Umumamosum Pretty Derby. I know I butchered that, 8,083. Animal Crossing New Horizons at 7,830. Gundam Breaker 4 at 7,497. Ring Fit Adventure at 7,142. And of course, the Nintendo Switch, once again, outselling everything like 6-1, like 67,473. PlayStation 5 did 11,000 some odd units, and Xbox didn't even do 1,500. So absolutely fucking terrible in terms of hardware. And even the Switch, but then look at the Switch in Japan, still 67,473. Paul Gale also says Nintendo Switch is less than 22,000 away from hitting 2 million for the year in Japan. In what, year 8? Year 7, I think, or year 7 or 8. It's one of those. So Brooke Barnes says, any more streams happening this coming week or weekend? Yeah. So tomorrow afternoon, Eric Ladd is going to be coming on. He's another musician and he's a JRPG YouTuber. So Eric Ladd's going to be on to talk JRPGs, music, and the Nintendo Switch, and where he kind of sees gaming going. I think that's going to be a really good discussion. Also, I'm going to sell him on JoJo because she's never watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Brooke. So we're going to have to tag team him on that and get some JoJo love going. We know how much the chat loves JoJo. But all righty, well, I think that kind of concludes everything. Guest had to go eat, and no sense in me just fucking hanging around wasting your time without a guest. This is a guest-based show, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. Thanks so much, everybody who came out. Once again, we'll definitely be doing this again soon. Again, tomorrow night, I think 6 p.m. is when we're scheduled to do that at. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and then Brooke Barnes says I may catch stream later. Awesome, fantastic. Always glad to see you. I'm gonna, and hell, by the time you get home and ready, it will probably still be fucking streaming because, oh my God, some of these go a long time. So, fuck, I think we're hitting regularly 4 hours the last few, which this is one of the first that has it. And honestly, it's kind of a godsend in a way because, man, some of those streams when they go that long, it's epic, man. But boy, it takes the wind out of you. Just ask me and ask any guest that's gone 4 hours with the Zooster. It's time. I mean, it's not time flies. Everybody says time flies, but at the same time, that's a long time to sit and talk about video games. I could do it all day, but I think every once in a while people just got to catch their breath, So, all righty. Well, I think we'll end it right here. Thanks so much again, everybody, for coming out. Love y'all. We'll see you maybe tomorrow night if you can catch up. But I gotta go and head out myself. I'm gonna head out. You get the fuck out of here, and I'll see you soon, guys. Take care.